pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And now we're gonna approve the minutes from April 4th.
Also moved, Mr. Chairman.
Don's moved,
All second.
Tim second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All abstained, Ms.
Oh,
Zerler.
yeah, 4-0, almost gone. We're gonna do a little jumping around here, we're gonna take care of Rhonda Housing Authority real quick, and then we'll go into, consent agenda for miscellaneous motion.
I kind of set out a picture there. This property is 615 South Street in Gridley, Kansas. It's Dan and Dawn Laubner, I want to say, Laubner. They have purchased this from their son-in-law, and they're going to build a house on there. Randy Graybill is going to be doing the hauling off, and probably around 25 loads with his smaller equipment. So, and they would just like to waive landfill fees.
Also moved.
I'll second.
Bob moved, Tom second, waive landfill fees. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
You know, it looks like there's a hand dug well there. How do they handle them? So they go ahead and fill them in, or they
Yeah.
gotta get a permit to fill it in?
Well, we always tell them that they need to take care of it properly and everything, and so they probably will, especially since they're building a house back.
I bet that, the way that looks, I bet it's a hand dug.
Could be.
With the top on.
Could be. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're gonna run to our miscellaneous motion. Move to reappoint John Terrence, District 3, as a member of the Coffee County Planning Board, effective immediately and ending April 30th, 2025. He's in my district, I'll move.
All second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Move to reappoint Michael Abendroth, District 1, as a member of the Coffee County Planning Board, effective immediately and ending April 30th, 2025. I'll move.
I'll second.
Bob second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Move to reappoint Jacob Snyder, District 5, as a member of the Coffee County Planning Board, effective immediately, ending April 30th, 2025.
I'll move.
All second.
Bob moved, Tim second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. At the request of the Economic Development, Bobby Skipper, move to waive all landfill fees associated with the tank removal at 2224 South 4th Street in Burlington, Kansas, for Boyd Construction, and all the landfill fees associated with the further demolition to be performed under separate projects not yet performed.
All moved.
Tim's moved.
I'll second.
Tom second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Move to rescind paragraph 5 of Monday, April 4th, 2022 meeting. Night move to approve resolution number 772-M, a resolution establishing the pay scale and certification for the employees of Coffee County, Kansas.
Also, move.
Well,
I did.
I'll second, so we get to discussion.
Okay.
What?
Ron moved, Bob seconded. Any discussion?
What created that?
Okay, so, when we took this resolution last week, well, Don had visited with me and thought the numbers weren't right. And so I went with the numbers he was saying, but then when we went back and went through the whole payroll system every month and then looked at the salary schedule we implemented last year, the number that we had originally was correct. And I don't think Don's book was updated.
My book wasn't updated.
Yeah, well, and last year, if you remember, it was quite a disaster trying to get that new salary schedule, and you guys said just get it done. And so the books kind of just went by the wayside, and we went ahead and just implemented everything. And so the one employee that was in question is correct on this now. Otherwise, we would be cutting their salary, so.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Move to approve resolution number 772 NA, a resolution establishing the pay scale and classification for the employees of Coffee County, Kansas.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Tim moved, Don second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Okay. Move to find various items of property contained in the list dated April 4th, 2022 are no longer required and cannot prudently be used for public purposes of Coffee County, and as such, the same will be disposed of by public auction. Said auction will occur April 16, 2022 at 10 a.m. at the Coffee County Shop, 1510 South 6th Street, Burlington, Kansas. The county clerk is authorized to publish the notice of intent to dispose of the property in the official Coffee County newspaper. So moved.
I'll second.
Jesse moved, Tim seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. And that concludes 2 minutes later. Mr. Bobby Skipper.
Yes, sir. I'm here today. I'd like to introduce Mr. Joseph Serrano and his associate, Mr. Tyler Ellsworth, with Kutek Rock, and they'd like to, for a few minutes, discuss, continue the conversation they had when they were last here about the possible project financing for the jail project.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nice to see everyone again. So we're really here to kind of seek a little bit of, come on up, Tyler. We're here to seek a little bit of direction as to how we want to proceed with the financing, if we want to proceed with the financing for the jail project.
Excuse me a minute.
Sure.
I don't want to sound out of place or rude, but, we have a company hired to do the jail, Goldberg, and I would really like Goldberg to be here when we discuss this,
Sure.
because there are leaders on this,
Right.
and without them, we're looking from what they're saying, we're getting from what you're saying. I would like everybody to be on the same page, and I'm not real sure how we would go about doing that. Sure.
Were they invited today, or?
They were,
They were.
like they couldn't come.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they were actually.
Have you spoke with him at all?
No, we have not.
Okay.
No.
I think that would be advisable.
That would be wonderful. We'll take that up. We'll make certain we do that.
I mean, that way, he's on the same page as you, you're on the same page as him.
Sure.
I mean, I know I've made the comment a couple of times that I'm very comfortable with Joe being our bond attorney, but by the same token, I would be, I think it'd be advisable if you and Goldberg spoke and met or something.
Absolutely.
So that way, everybody's getting the same piece of information.
That's great. And I don't know if, and we'll take that up and we'll reach out to them right after this
Okay.
meeting.
And I have no problem with you either.
I don't.
It's just that we need, everybody needs, the people involved.
Right.
Everybody needs to be together and on the same page.
We will
with that.
coordinate. I don't know if we want to go further. There is a little bit of direction that we were trying to seek because there's this discussion about ballot language and what are we taking it to the voters versus do we do a PBC, which if you do a public building commission, then you don't necessarily take it to the voters. If you take it to the voters, are we talking about what's the size of the project? Are we talking about, are we going to geo back this? So there was a little bit of direction that we were hoping to gain, but we could come back at a later time and after we have that conversation with Goldberg, if that's agreeable.
I mean, I know the time is coming up on us
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very fast.
All right.
you know, and so we do need to get some things ironed out, and, of course, the bonding is the number one thing.
Right.
We'll pay for it.
And whether we take it to the voters, what is that language? Are we actually wanting the full faith and credit of the county to back these? Are we going to use a PVC and use the surplus? Those are direct, there's the initial contribution that we're talking about. Is it 10 million? Is it 20%? So we need to have, again, be on the same page with Goldberg, but also just a little bit of direction from the commissioners to how do we proceed.
As far as I was concerned, from day one, it was gonna go
To
to the vote.
Right.
Just because it's taxpayer money.
Right.
We were gonna pull, and I think you gave some numbers last year on different fees, and
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't have that chart with me right now, but that's where I think we came up with the 10 million down.
Right.
And the rest bonded, so.
And if we take it, and this is the concern that we would ask, or at least for you to consider, if you take it to the voters, then you would we wouldn't need the PBC, the Public Building Commission. You don't need that. You take it to the voters, you ask, do you want this jail facility, and how much do you want to pay for it?
I think I read in the paper there was some discussion on that last week with Johnson, is that right?
A little bit.
Okay.
And if you take it to the voters and it's shot down, then you don't have a project. One thing you could consider is you then go back to the PVC, but that's politically insensitive. You're going against the grain of the will of the voters. So you take it to the voters, what is the question that you're asking? Are you asking the size of the project, the number of beds? Are you asking, hey, listen, we're going to finance this. This is a facility that we are going to finance, and this is the amount that it's going to cost, up or down, thumbs up or thumbs down. And that, we could work with the county councilor for that language, but know that if it fails, if the voters shoot it down, it's really difficult. One county, a neighboring county did go back and do a justice center through a PVC that was shot down, but it's politically sensitive to commissioners, because now you're going against the grain of what voters had didn't approve. So
I'd like to see our county attorney and Goldberg
yeah,
deeply involved with you.
absolutely.
This is, yeah.
But it's obvious, I mean, there's no question about it. If this is voted down,
Yeah.
we're still gonna spend a big handful of money renovating what we have.
Exactly.
So
That's exactly right.
what people need to realize.
That's exactly right. One thing is, and I don't want to take too much time, but, you know, you go out to the vote, because that's what you promised, you take it out to the vote. You know, a lot of times what we will advise is take it to as an advisory election. You don't want to do it when you're running a general election, but you take it as an advisory election, is do you want this? It's not really binding, but if it says, yes, you want it, then it's not really binding to the county, but people have voted for it, so you're almost bound to vote it, to build it. The question is, if it's shot down, then the community has to understand that there's going to be a renovation and $10 or $12 million to renovate the existing facility.
Should a person, and this is just all talk, should a person do something like option A, build a new jail,
Yeah,
a 60-bed jail?
yeah.
Option B, renovate what we have for $12 million and only gain 7 beds.
Yeah.
I mean, should it be multiple choice?
That's the problem with election. I mean, you really want a yes/no question. You really need to say yes or.
Either up or, my opinion, up or down, and I'm not an authority by any means.
No, we've done this kind of advisory, and Tyler ran this deal, and it's really convoluted because, you know, you could have multiple choices that are inconsistent. So, I mean, really the law is the proposition has to be kind of a yes or a no. That you want on the ballot language. Do you want this jail, 72 beds, 60 beds at $30 million? That's what they need to be voting. And if they vote it, you don't need a PVC. You could just use your GO, and GO bonds is a little bit cheaper. There's a little bit lower interest rate. So we're happy to work with, you know, Mr. Bowie. We're happy to work with Goldberg's group and come back and visit about it. I think we're going to be running up against a little bit of time associated with that, but we're happy to come back anytime.
But I think all three of you working together, all three of
Right.
you got some background in it, especially you guys, especially Larry. All three of you working together and bringing that proposal to us, we still got the final say in making adjustments,
Right,
making a go-ahead, yeah, up or down, or whatever it may be, we still got the final say so.
That's
But
correct.
it's really working together, be pulling together, to me, that shows a little bit more positive attitude towards our citizens, who that'll be voting on it.
and we wanna make certain that we are taking out to vote, and if we take, and that's kind of the consensus, then we don't necessarily need to worry about a PVC for the jail. We may talk about other facilities, like the hospital facility, but for the jail, if it's going out to vote, we can kind of disregard the PVC at this stage of the game, unless under consideration and discussion that would be a preferred approach.
I think Goldberg's gonna be present at one of our meetings here in the next week or two, I think. I don't know what date it is. It was on an email that come through, I seen, so.
25th.
Is it the 25th? I was gonna say the 25th.
We'll put a lot of effort, at the commission's request, what you brought up at the very beginning, we'll put a lot of effort into making sure that getting on the same page occurs prior to the 25th.
And I'm not certain we're not on the same page, we just haven't had that conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it that you came down.
No,
We gotta have all of our ducks in a row.
It was our understanding that, is the Goldberg the architect?
Yes.
Yeah, it was our understanding they were going to be here, and we were going to have that conversation, but I guess they're on a different project today, so we're happy to come down anytime.
I think it's Georgia, I think.
Is that what it is? Okay.
We'll move on to the next,
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys, appreciate it.
Yes, you're still up, Bobby. You got, executive session, 20 minutes, trade secret?
yes, sir, this, I'd like to add a provision to the COMA explanation, along with discussion of finances of the corporation, also land acquisition. And I would ask that it would be the commissioners, or county council Wade Bowie, and myself, and Joseph Serrano, and Mr. Tyler Ellsworth.
For 20 minutes,
Yes, sir.
executive session for 20 minutes. Motion to go in executive session for 20 minutes with Bobby Skipper. The names have been put out there.
Can we do two different things in one executive session?
I was gonna ask, so you mentioned land acquisition. Does it tie to the same project? It's usually, I'd rather separate them if we can. And if we start, I don't like doing two in one.
Are we still ahead of schedule?
We're gonna be behind schedule all day anyway, so it's okay.
Can we add if we do separate them, just make the first one 20 minutes and come back for a 10-minute for land acquisition?
I'm more comfortable with that.
Okay. So the same party? Okay. Same party as previously spoken for a 20-minute executive session.
Go ahead, Bob.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Bob moved, Don second.
But what was this one on? I'm sorry, you guys changed on me.
Financial affairs.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We will enter at 9:20 for 20 minutes.
Nice to meet you, Wade.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
How you doing?
All right.
Sorry to tie you up.
Oh, you're fine. I'm kinda curious, so I can go back to council and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting paid by the hour, so.
I guess you might say I am too, so I blocked out my morning, so. I was kinda guessing that might happen when I looked for the agenda and so.
funny how it always goes in spurts. Either you have nothing or you got a whole bunch.
Yeah. Last time I did, I wasn't on the agenda, but they, you know, it's just, I felt that, you know, sort of, I don't know how it works out, you know, and it worked out all fine.
Well, you're near the end of the meeting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess the answer is the page is not
They always find a way to meet until then anyway.
Yeah.
It could be a short agenda, they'll still find a way to meet until then.
Does the mafia not come to these meetings anymore? That's an inside joke.
What PDC residents talked about?
We could do it. I think that was, but I don't know.
What term that?
Cause he did say, we could, they could just
Yeah, which that's never been
Yeah.
commission's intent,
Right.
so.
Okay, well, let's get the litigation.
No, I don't.
Excuse me.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
You're gonna need that when you say. Small. That on there.
Up to the bond council to throw some stuff. Where do we have their problems?
Didn't they? Didn't, I didn't see it in that time.
Yes, they did.
Huh. This month? I usually try.
The reason I know is because I asked my granddaughter yesterday.
Yeah, she's a senior, ain't she? She's a junior. She's a junior? Oh, she's a senior, I'm sorry. Hardly, it's been that many years.
I know.
I seen her in, a couple weeks ago when we was talking, I was like, I can't believe we've been out of high school that long.
refers to several different financial terms, so I have to get verification. There's like a permanent capital vehicle.
You mean it doesn't
Probably a lot cheaper.
But maybe they were trying to tunnel something. Do they have the land for? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't honestly know. I know there's been many options they've thrown around, but I don't know what's gonna happen.
I sent a text back last night after I got that email that you guys sent, that you presenting this morning.
I'm sorry.
I sent a text or an email back, because I wasn't at the last meeting, so I sent an email back, and I guess I didn't realize that they went ahead and decided to go on with that first part of that.
Yeah, there was quite a lengthy discussion at the meeting, and, there was pretty strong consensus in the group, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they, in fact, it was actually a really good discussion. I think you were present as well. And, it's kind of the nice thing about when you're facilitating a working group is, and this is a side note for me, is I kind of, it's much easier when the group is directing, you know?
Yeah.
So I had two of our staff come and we presented on kind of what we had researched so far.
Yeah.
And, I thought interesting the committee on the trail work. I think we're kind of making a shift where, yes, we're gonna focus on this first project of Burlington and Neutron, but then the committee, rather than a countywide loop study beyond that, you know, so like this will be phase one, but different phases, they want us to look at, the potential of trails networks within the cities. They thought that would be more beneficial than a county-wide study. And that, I mean, I think I'm representing that very clearly.
I understood.
That was very loud and clear from the group entirely. So that's piece one, and then, we presented kind of what it takes to do a stormwater study, the process to do that, and they wanted to move forward with that. The interesting thing about that I think we were able to, share with folks was that when you get into studying the stormwater and flooding issues in the cities, our stormwater engineer has done a lot of work with watershed districts, and there are, I think, 3 watershed districts in the county that really no one has worked with. The watershed districts have funds that, as we put this study together, one of the other priorities with these lakes in some of the cities. Well, there's an opportunity there that, based on how the stormwater studies go, we could find solutions that would resolve the fishing lake issues as well. So, it actually could kind of solve two priorities without all that effort. And so that's what they have asked me to present today. Yeah. So, and they were, I would say again, very clear that they would like the request from the committee to recommend, at least for these study pieces, that the county ask for funding from the county to fund these to move forward, so that then, when the studies are complete, the working group's in a better position to go ask for funding from different sources that we should.
Is there any knowledge in how much the rest of the studies are gonna cost?
We haven't.
I didn't know if they would ask that today, because I've been looking at that too, because I'm thinking they could fund today,
Yeah.
but then they're not funding anything else.
Well, no, the short answer is we haven't done any, because we focused on those first two priorities. We could probably put together something by the next meeting to at least look at, what are the five.
That would probably be good.
Now Bobby Skipper did say that on the housing study, that he's already received funding, I think.
There is grants
The grants.
that he might be able to get.
Yeah.
Oh, but he hasn't done it yet.
Well, we gotta figure it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I actually think he did, he has talked to, I think he's in line to get funding for the housing study, because what I took away was, we don't need to worry about funding that at this point, he's working on getting that funding together.
Well.
So that would solve one issue. So really, we would only be looking at the sidewalk issue, which the 5 priorities were,
Right.
and so adding sidewalks in the communities, and then the lakes. So that would be kind of the 2 that we could put some numbers to. Yeah. But I appreciate you asking questions. I do.
Sure.
I do.
I talked to Ian Fred when I got home, but that wasn't real clear, you know, and then I talked to him, and I didn't know, yeah, that's what they decided.
I appreciate you saying yes, because that's, I mean, we heard it pretty loud and clear, so.
Okay.
Okay. I was, I think I was pretty, yeah, I've done this type of work for a while, I think I was pretty direct with the group to say, please be clear to me, because if you're asking me.
Yeah,
to
oh, I
something-
trust you. I trust you, I just hadn't heard that part of
Yeah.
it, so I was shocked last night.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew it was gonna cost quite a bit.
Well, believe it or not, when we came to the meeting, I'd given them a range, because we hadn't really drilled into, here's what a real scope of work would be. So, it did come down from our original, we were thinking it might be as much as the 2 combined, was up as much as 140,000. But now, you know, we said, you know, this should be.
Yeah. Definitely made it seem brighter and happier, cheerier, and all that. Where it was, I still want to go further low, but sometimes things in life.
Yeah.
How's yours doing?
Good. Good. I'm very happy.
But thank you.
You're welcome. I'm thinking it probably sounded harsh last night. I was just shocked. But wait, we gotta go somewhere today?
I meant to send out a reminder earlier, but I was in a conference out of state.
Where we at?
I was down in Orlando. We have done a lot of design build work as a firm, and the National Design Build Conference was in Orlando.
Okay.
And we have a project that we are we're getting started on that we were asked to do a presentation on.
How was the weather?
The weather was really hot on Wednesday. I got in Wednesday morning, but it was really hot on Wednesday, 98 degrees.
Wow.
Which is hot for Florida. Yeah.
That is.
And then Thursday, it was 92 at 10 a.m. and then the thunderstorms rolled in and it poured like crazy. And then Friday, it was cool, but not cold like here. But it was in the 50s and 60s. So, but
Yeah.
sunny.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So.
I've never been to Florida in April, I have no idea. So.
Yeah,
But that was hot for them in
it
April.
was hot for them in April, and actually, so we went with I took my family down for vacation. We were out the end of February in Orlando to go to the parks, and it was in the upper 80s the other night. That's very warm for February. Usually it's in the 70s. So that's high.
We were to Destin, North Carolina for a meeting, and it's just beautiful. It's like 70. We were there for about 3 weeks, and 70 the last time we left. It was raining.
Yeah.
This is a place to leave because there was no people.
Yeah, and that was in Destin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Fort Walton.
Yeah. No, that whole area. I'll be honest with you, we love Florida. I mean, for visiting on vacation. I mean, it's my kids are all grown. I have grandkids now, but they're it's just the Gulf side. It's just we enjoy it a lot.
Cool.
And you're right. I mean, it's like as long as you got the water near you, it's really great.
Where's your supposed to be?
And usually during the summer, there's always an African thunderstorm. Okay, usually an hour thunderstorm, and it goes away and it gets hot again.
And humid.
Yeah, hot and humid. So we like Florida. We've had times even where we planned like a ski trip, or go to Colorado, and literally like the week before it was like, yeah, we better go to Colorado. That's when we go. Yeah. No, it was good. The biggest challenge is what you're hearing on the news is I didn't get home until like 4 in the morning on Saturday morning because flights were getting delayed and all that. So.
Yeah, I was over at Big Bend flying out. About 3 hours. Anyway, yeah. So it's just to fly out like at 7 in the morning, and I didn't fly out. So they canceled and rescheduled. So. But I got home.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Some people get upset.
I do.
Part of the deal. I mean,
It is part of the deal.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so I was traveling by myself. David just like what's gonna happen here? What's gonna happen?
Yeah. I just texting my wife and updating them. At least they haven't canceled the flight.
Right.
So we actually took off, from Orlando like it was the flight was originally it was a night flight, but 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it was about 3 hours. Food was good in the airport.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Bigger airports have great food.
Yeah.
Things that you don't get
Yeah.
sometimes. You don't get to.
Yeah. Well, I had this delicious shrimp and grits for dinner.
Wow.
It was like at the airport. I'm like, this is awesome. So that's good. But then I spent most of that. I mean, so we had a busy Saturday, and then about 7 o'clock Saturday night, I'm getting worn out here. So
So so your family went back before you, how many days before you?
Well, actually, two different trips. We went down to last week, February for vacation for a
Oh,
week.
okay,
And then I had this conference.
okay, sorry.
And I just, no, it's,
I just put both of them together.
no, it's all good. In fact, originally I was gonna go down on Tuesday, and then I was like, no, I don't know, extra night. So I had a 5 a.m. flight Wednesday morning, and then a late flight.
Okay.
But, you know, you go to Orlando, and, you know, I'd never been to this particular resort convention center where they had the conference. It was beautiful. I mean, it's amazing, you know, the number of these types of places down there that you go. It was very nice, very nice.
Well, it's like 4 weeks,
And people are generally happy at the airport because it's a vacation place, and so, it's pretty good.
I'm gonna check,
make sure I get it before.
Are they, will they come up?
Pretty good.
I would like to request the commission go into an executive session for 10 minutes, including our county counsel, Wade Bowie, Joseph Serrano, and Tyler Ellsworth, and myself, to discuss land acquisition.
So moved.
Don moves,
All second.
Tim seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes for executive session, 10 minutes. We will go in at 9:44 for 10 minutes.
I'm sorry.
We just want to clear.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, my pleasure.
Yeah, it's a B, not a D. Oh. Public Building Commission. Okay. Just, it does, yeah.
I remember mentioning that a couple weeks ago.
They didn't act like it was too bad. And they're a little reluctant there for something.
They're gonna get some exercise. Save my
battery. It's a pretty riveting meeting so far.
It is. When's outage?
It is September, I think end of should be mid-September, so it should be done by Thanksgiving, from what I remember. Mid-September. Yeah. Yep.
Hey Ralph, this is Jan.
I'm sure people start showing up in July timeframe, get some of the pre-stuff done, get scaffolds built, and they do some valve work and stuff in the shops ahead of time.
This is just a pretty normal
Yep.
outage.
Yeah.
Or any special work scheduled?
I mean, there's always some major project in it, but nothing spectacular. Like there's some transformer work over the next several years. We started a big project to just replace all the large transformers,
Just give you a message.
things like that. Just
Yeah.
a continuation of that
We're
stuff.
we're moving the GCA meeting to 6 o'clock.
But yeah, pretty much just a normal maintenance and refueling outage.
Okay, 6 o'clock, thank you.
No big
Bye.
ESW pipe replacement type things. Big projects are probably a thing of the past. It's the way the money goes and everything nowadays.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were just talking about that the other day. Getting old.
Yeah, I'm not an official in this kind of stuff, but it's getting into the depreciation range where you either make a commitment to keep it going for another 20 years and kind of get into that unknown with the license extension basis with the NRC, or you start taking depreciation, which they've obviously been doing the whole time, but they'll start moving bigger into depreciation and less into capital improvement.
Once license expired, is it 40?
I think it's 45. I think it's 45. Yep. I mean, it's a good solid plan, so they can easily get another 20 years, but it's kind of iffy with the NRC right now with the commissioners and there's no real set agenda on how to do it, so it's pretty fluid. When they originally came up with all this stuff, they just kind of set an arbitrary, lifetime. They didn't want them running forever without any checks and balances. Now we're done a lot of research and they know they're pretty solid, and you do these monitoring things, you can go for a while, but the process is very well executed.
Hey,
Everything unwell and advanced.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, cause I mean, even asking for permission isn't a cheap option. It'll cost tens of millions of dollars just to do the paperwork and provide the information and the maintenance and all that stuff that are required to just go another. So we're just finishing now the requirements for our last, for our previous institution. So you have to do all these extra inspections, all this extra stuff before the expiration of your original license to go into your extension period. So that's still ongoing, coming to the end here in this next few weeks.
Oh, was it?
There's two people sitting here.
It's gonna create a problem, because I gotta lend it to El Dorado to see if the surgeon, because she's having problems with that. She was up and about. She's up and about, she's doing right, so. Me.
Okay.
Yep. And they're going in the lower back. It's a little bit, she can't get rid of the pain. That surgery itself, I think, is fine. It's all just that side effects from the other stuff. She may have did too much of the exercise like that they put her on. When they took her off the walker and put her on the cane, put more tension and pressure on that leg. supposed to return at 9:54, so their second executive session.
Yeah, they'll probably return and ask for another.
I know that feeling. Sure. We don't do it too often. Once or twice we've done out of executive session right back in. Go back picking up the same stuff we did.
Where are they planning to build the new jail?
Parking lot right behind us.
That's why they want a new school?
Yeah, it's, to me, that seems really.
No, it's got nothing to do with the school.
Oh. Why do they want a new school? It's not big enough?
Flint Hills Tech College is
Yeah.
coming to town, and they're looking at possibly buying that elementary school.
Yeah.
And then they build the new one out at the complex,
So they-
the middle and high school.
They don't want a new school right now, they gotta get all the other pieces in place.
Right. Yeah.
So is Flint Hills looking at like 4 a year, or just
No,
like
a new campus.
No, it's cool.
Well, I know they're looking at we're meeting with them, I believe, on the 21st. They could, to look at, yeah, to look at our building. The 21st or 24th, I think.
No, the 24th is a Sunday, so I
Yeah.
gotta be there on Sunday.
I mean, I know the jail's already across from the school as is, it just seems.
There's always been a jail, even before this
Yeah.
jail, there's.
The jail was built in 1927, the high school and the elementary schools were built in 1929.
This was built in 1929?
Probably the first
The
chunk
old-
of it.
The old jail, the original.
Oh, jail, okay.
Yeah, and it was a separate building.
And now the jails are safer than they used to be.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I don't have any kids in elementary anymore, so.
All the doors are locked anyways, you gotta
No,
buzz to
no.
get in.
You can't get into anything.
So I went to school, elementary, high school right there.
Yeah.
My dad worked in the old courthouse.
She looked at elementary, junior high, high school, but we actually got it. Then they moved it.
Yeah, the old one was just a standalone building. I think they could have passed those between bricks. Bricks and block. It's almost like Bill's Hardware supported by telephone poles.
They couldn't come up with a location like on the outskirts of town.
Right.
Well, they trying to get it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
the
based
first
on
option was south of town.
Can't buy the old Walmart photos that are there. Next to the car dealerships, I never got it yet.
Have easy access for transportation.
We've been trying to keep it safe as possible. If you're gonna do it remotely, then you try to have your store with it too, so prisoners are all contained and
Yeah, so.
no transportation. So whenever you have to transport prisoners, that's probably the most dangerous part.
But I mean, they kind of be getting into that business too, though, right? Like, and part of it, being able to rent out jail space.
Yeah, but not states, keep it in the detail.
They need to go to Chase County. Chase County is just barely breaking even.
I was just saying, when they break in,
That's, they're making no profit, they're just barely meeting expenses.
How many bids?
68. I'm doubting agree for sure.
they were so informed.
Osage County is 144 bids.
Yeah, we're gonna be 60 minutes.
We didn't require any more personnel to go
Alright, we're back. Joe, you got anything else for us, sir?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the
You got
board.
exercise in.
I know, we got our exercise running. So, I'm here, to seek authority from the board to negotiate with property owners of a proposed agreement on a proposed CI, Community Improvement District. If you, grant me that authority, then at a later date, a final agreement will be presented to the board for consideration. So for this morning, I'm just seeking that authority from the commissioners.
Motion out to give Joe, authority to seek CID
Agreement.
agreements, once that is finalized, it'll bring it back to us for our approval, I'm assuming.
Consideration.
Consideration of approval.
I'll move.
Bob's moved.
I'll second.
Tim second. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Can you go over that one more time for me? I'm sorry.
For me,
Yep.
it's a seek authority to negotiate with property owners, an agreement for a proposed community improvement district. And then a final agreement, will be brought forth for the commissioner's consideration at a later date.
I think you said consideration and approval.
Consideration and approval.
That would be-
Thank you.
Bob's moved, Tim seconded.
Wouldn't that be consideration for approval?
For approval.
Not and approval.
Yeah,
Which
for
may not be.
approval. For approval. Bob seconded, Tim, Bob moved, Tim seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got your work cut out for you. Are you, got anything else, Bobby, real quick?
Just to introduce, CFS.
Okay, sorry, yep, I forgot about that.
Yes, sir, thank you. At last week's community planning meeting for the CIP project, CFS engineers discussed with the people in attendance, the group, two of the projects on the scope of work that are potentially moving forward. There's some studies that were talked about that might need to be authorized. So, Mr. Sagan?
Yep. Good morning again.
Morning.
Well, you guys are gonna get tired of me, or either that, or we're gonna get along real good, so, hoping it's the last.
We'll take care of it.
I do appreciate the opportunity, the working group, the county's, CIP working group, we've had our second meeting. One, I'm gonna give you a quick update, and then the committee has asked us as, your consultant to bring forward a couple of recommendations for your consideration. If you remember, the committee, after we did the planning work that you all had us do, during the COVID period, we had identified project priorities for the county. In our first meeting with the working group, they further prioritized that longer list into here's our top 5 that we want to work on. Those 5 were trails within the cities and county, citywide stormwater studies, more sidewalk improvements throughout the different communities, adding lakes in the 3 cities that don't have lakes currently for community lakes. And then the 5th item was a housing study, because there was a continued desire from the county and the communities that there's a need for more housing in your area. As we moved forward in the second meeting, as Bobby mentioned, the working group, we did come forward because the top 2 on the list were trails and the stormwater study. So I had some of our team of staff come and dig in further to that to share with the committee kind of how this all would move forward. Specifically, in the trail project, we looked at Burlington to New Strawn Trail as kind of a phase 1 of overall projects for trails within the county. A big part of the reason that was kind of priority 1, you've heard us talk about this, was there's been a lot of legwork done in advance. We were given a lot of information to kind of review and study, and so we brought that information back to the working group. And what we found in that was there has been some conceptual work done, specifically in regard to the easements, the utility easements that exist. So there's a path forward, I guess is a good way to put it. But there would be work to be done, which I would call professional services to look at preliminary engineering, such that this phase 1 trail could then be submitted for leveraged funding, as we've mentioned before, with several other programs that are available, which we went through those programs with the committee. And I have some information I'll leave with you for your review here momentarily after I get done with a little bit of my comments. The second priority was the stormwater study. Had one of our stormwater engineers come and more than anything present to the working group the process of putting together a stormwater study. What does it entail? What is the scope of work? What is that? What kind of outcomes do you get out of a stormwater study? And again, this was all based on the earlier planning work you had us do with the communities. It was very interesting. A lot of the communities literally drew on the maps and said, here's where we have flash flooding issues, here's where we have drainage issues. And so a stormwater study would be very effective for your overall county, particularly because when you look at stormwater, you're looking at watersheds. And watersheds, so you're not just solely zoned in on the cities, you're looking at watersheds that can affect many areas of your county, but then they will ultimately drill into what's going on in those different communities. Again, what we presented there was, here's the next step, a study is needed. At the time of the committee working group meeting, I had presented to them some cost estimates for a range of what this work would cost for each of those packages. And the committee working group, through quite a bit of discussion, we met for over an hour and a half, recommended that one, CFS refine the scope and fee numbers for each of these and bring those back to you all for your consideration for funding. I will pass out a little packet I have for each of you, but I can tell you, I'll just jump to the punchline, that's what you'll want to know. I do have these spreadsheets for each of those studies that have a scope and a fee and a schedule to them. For the Burlington to New Strawn piece, we're looking at around $52,122 for that work, with a scheduled completion at the end of June of this year, if this is something you say, let's move forward with. And again, I don't know that you need to make that decision today. I think you want to look at this information, and then, you know, I can come back and visit with you, or we can move forward from there. And the stormwater study, its budget would be $52,570. I guess I will say this, because the working group, what they heard, when I gave them a range, originally I was thinking these might be around $130,000. We've refined those numbers to bring them down, but I'll leave these here for your consideration with each of you. So let me pass these out real quick.
For that type of preliminary cost, is there any grant funding available to proceed with those studies?
There is some grant funding available. I apologize, I'd have to go back to my notes that I have that we had at the committee. The challenge, I think the committee, and again, I'm speaking for the working group here, they were, some of the challenges with funding for the studies is that, the timeline will get slowed down because you would need to still put together the process.
I'm sure it's slowed down.
Yeah, and so the request from the working group was to ask the county to consider funding these to move the projects forward, and then that would put us in a better position to then go after additional monies down the road, so that honestly, the county burden would be up front with these studies, but then that we could start looking at how other dollars are used to fund other components of the work.
Most of these these type of funding deals is cost share. Is that correct?
Yes, it's cost share. There was, many of them still would have a match of some percentage,
whatever,
10%, 20%.
The bigger the match, the more possibility it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that, and I hope I'm not overstepping with the working group, some of the members are here. Their thought was that as we get more refined to what the projects may become after the study work is done, then the communities can have more of a dialogue with you all about maybe what they can do to help in that process. But initially, the thought was, let's ask the county commission if they would consider moving forward with these priorities. One thing, a couple of side notes I would mention, and Bobby, please correct me because I'm going to maybe speak. Interestingly enough, of the 5 priorities, I believe there was we had some discussion on a housing study, and Bobby had mentioned that he was already working on some funding for the housing study and moving that forward. So that may be a piece that really comes together parallel with this other work, and we'll continue to work with Bobby on that. I think the working group was really pleased to hear that. And then on the lakes, our stormwater engineer also believes there's an opportunity that once we get into the stormwater study, you will see the possibility that lakes can be created for detention, which then could lead to a benefit to get us to the solution of some of these lakes and improvements for the communities. We also know, we shared with the working group that there are watershed districts all through the state of Kansas, including 3 in York County, that they receive funds from the state and in different sources, federal as well, that can be used for dam projects, can be used for stormwater projects. And at least the general take from the working group was the county really hasn't worked closely with those watershed districts. Our person actually that works on our staff used to work for the state of Kansas. She's very familiar with these watershed groups, and she saw an opportunity there for that could actually be a piece that moves forward in conjunction with the stormwater study. So not to be overly optimistic, but I think we walked away from it, maybe these 5 priorities start to come together much quicker than we anticipated. So anyway, I wanted to present the scope, fee schedule, for your consideration. And again, I speak for the working group. I'm always very careful to say that so that I don't look like the consultant that's just here making the request. So please back me up, gang. But that's they've been very. I think you'd be very pleased with the amount of participation that your communities are showing and their appreciation of the earlier work that the county funded and the partnership that you've created to involve them in this process. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You already answered one of mine about the lakes being incorporated with the stormwater study, so.
Yeah, I think we really feel like there's a natural opportunity there.
I was wondering. Awesome.
I think the watershed deal, there's probably a better opportunity in the western half of Gulf County than maybe the northern half. You take the southeast part, I don't know of any area, where you could build in a 10 or 15 or 20 acre lake. It would provide more benefits to Leroy, because It's definitely isn't as rolling, it's more flatter, but, you know, as the county as a whole, I'm sure there's probably some value to it.
Yeah.
But southeast is gonna be very limited.
Yeah, I think-
I know the night that Jim had the program down there, there were 4 or 5 of the people there, they were marking X's all over the whole place. You know, where they wanna need to be more storm drainage and better drainage in the city of Leroy. To me, even in a 3 or 4 inch storm, you know, the ditching is already there, it just needs to be cleaned out. Cause within 12 or 14 hours, the water was already, the water's already in the river or the creek to the east, so.
Yeah, that's one thing we.
They're not as familiar, some of those people aren't as familiar with the drainage, they expect the water to disappear in an hour.
Yeah.
That's just not the way it is.
Well, and I think we were honest with the working group and Sherry, you know, to your very point that, you know, we're not talking about 500-year floods we're handling. We're talking about, you know, 50-year floods. There will be water, but a lot of it is about, you know, are the pipes clean? Are the ditches are the right depth? Are we really, you know, what can be done? Some of this gets very, very simplistic to maintenance opportunities that can take place that can benefit corridors and communities.
I've attended all these meetings so far, and I just want to say that the trails within the cities and counties, the group scratched the idea of a countywide trail. That's not going to be feasible, but each community would like to have their own trail, like Gridley out around their lake, or Lebo out around their lake, or whatever it be. So, and we chose because the new Strawn Trail, because it has had the most studies at the time, and it was also mentioned that if we did that one, there's a good chance that it can go into the others a little bit, and when we go for funding and stuff. And then the citywide storm water studies is, there's basically not any city who can afford to do the work that they would do to get to it, but it would benefit every community. And that's kind of what they're looking at. And the cities are not saying, do the project for us. They're just saying, help us get to where we can do the project. To me, if we don't continue on, and I know it's more money, but if we don't continue on, then we've kind of wasted the money we put into this project. That's just my thinking.
I agree wholeheartedly. I just agree. I don't know what else to say.
Well, we wanna bring
He's
people-
exactly correct. I mean, we spent the time, we spent the effort, let's not drop the ball.
Don't put it on the shelf and collect dust.
Yeah.
Because without this, it's gonna get shelved, because most of the cities cannot afford it, and they will have to figure out to try to get funding for it. But if we, as a county, which includes all the cities, help with this part of it, then they're gonna be a lot closer for the cities.
Well, it sounds like to me then, if there needs to be, does there need to be any more deliberation, talk about the fees, or do we just need to go
Will the money
ahead?
come from community improvement?
Community improvement,
Yeah.
I think is where it came from.
Then I will make a motion to proceed forward with these two, studies,
And I'll second that.
and the money to come from community improvement.
So then what I'll do is I'll put together our usual standard contract letter. I didn't want to, you know, be presumptuous, I want to get these in front of you. And I can do that this week and then turn around back to your staff and they'll be in your hands for further movement.
I'd feel a lot better if it was just a straight, even number of $100,000 for it. I'd feel good about that. I like even numbers.
Well, I'm saying we can make that work. I know we can make that work. It's however you, if you'd like.
Unless you wanna go 90.
Well, I know the work group would want me to go to 92, so, but and I will say this, as you all know, it's, our work with government is always, you're gonna see our hours and our actual hours, and that's what we invoice. So we're not, this is not a lump sum contract, so it's, the effort we expend is what you're gonna see.
In Waverly, the stormwater and the lake, I think, could go really together.
I do think there's, when we dig into the stormwater issue, there's gonna be some synergy in how that works and comes together. At least that's what I'm hearing from our watershed experts.
It's flat.
You know, it sounds like it's gonna be approved. You need to provide that contract, and let Wade take a look at it before we proceed ahead.
I can
And
do
we
that.
vote on it next
It would be
week.
the same contract we provided when we did our other work, but I can absolutely do that.
If that's what Wade'd like for us to do.
I like to look at contracts
Yeah.
first, even though it.
Yeah, no,
And we could,
no.
we could take a look at it,
Absolutely.
evaluate it next week.
Yeah, I can turn that around to you here in a couple of days.
So,
Was there a need for my motion then, or do you wanna wait till we get a contract?
Probably ought to wait.
Don't we need a motion to kind of, to enter into a contract, and then after it's done, then we can approve the contract or disapprove it? So our, Tom's motion is,
My motion just.
We still
leave
go ahead
forward.
with it.
just to proceed.
proceed forward.
Okay, great.
Can I
Wait a minute.
clarify where you said capital improvement reserve or the general? fund?
Community.
You said community
Or
improvement.
community improvement reserve or the general fund?
Is that on my list?
We've got the money in
Community
general, I just
reserve.
say go with general, because we can always transfer it back.
Well, you do have it there.
Huh?
You've got enough there.
Okay, I'd say just general.
And that was a cool 100,000, right?
Yes, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Sweet, save a little bit of money today.
So then I'll just combine it in one contract, the two studies in one contract. That was okay. Okay. All right.
We need to vote on it.
Yes. Any further discussion?
You get a second?
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Gentlemen, thank you. Really appreciate the work with you all and your cities. Thank you again.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I kinda feel bad, we're flying way far behind
Thank you.
again. Well, I've lost the schedule. Anybody need to take a quick break or move on? Get Mr. Stan out of the way?
Let's just move on and get Stan out of here.
Mr. Mayor Stan, let's,
Well, I didn't want you just, I know you're busy and you don't have time to sit around.
I got to head for El Dorado to take my wife back to her surgery.
Okay, two easy things, I think. First off is, we have applied for a grant to do the Sixth Street Bridge. And with that, they have asked us to supply letters of support for that. We have received some, from the school, EMS, fire, volunteer fire department, and one other one. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, what I was here for today on that is to ask you for a letter of support for doing the Sixth Street Bridge. They've approved it for the 23-24 budget year. So we need to get stuff into them for the final application and final approval. And that's all we're looking for at this time. If down the road you want to have another grant that you guys can come up with to help support that's fine. Right now, we've got an 80-20 program. So
And clarification is you're not tearing the bridge out, you're just adding on.
what we're doing is we're going on the east side, and we are taking out, we're going to layer the east side, take out half of what's there so that it'll overlap, and then we're going to add 8 feet more to the east with the 2 additional sets of pillars. And then the walkway will still be there, and it will be barriered off from the street with a concrete barrier so that you can still walk, and you'll have an adequate there for handicap accessible for 5-foot wide sidewalk behind a concrete barrier. So it's basically enlarging the driving surface so that we can have 2 large vehicles pass without bumping mirrors. Okay, so that's what I'm asking for just on that. So if we can get that, I would really appreciate it.
That needs to be a motion, I'll make the motion. And have a letter of support from the commission.
I'll second. Any further discussion on what Mr. Stan's presented?
No, but building the new sidewalk and stuff kind of moves in with what we just talked about on the trail.
Right.
Things all seem to tie together, so.
You bet.
The secretary did call me the other day and wanted to know if I would sign a support as a commission. I was like, no, I really think it needs to come in front of the commission. That way we get everybody, what happened the last time, so.
That's fine.
So that's.
So she delegated.
She delegated you. So, any further discussion? If not hearing any. Tom moved, Bob seconded. All in favor, say aye.
You second.
Oh, I seconded, sorry, I seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Sign with support.
The second item today is respect to, with the circus and the carnival. When it was presented to the governing body, they had a couple of contingency items that had to be addressed and taken care of prior to the final approval. And what I've done is I've gone to Scott Jeffers at Department of Recreation and ourselves, and now I'm coming to bring it to you as you are the sponsors of this function. And the four things that's required is that the city's insurance covers city functions and activities. It does not cover events that are sponsored by someone else. So whether it's the circus or whether it's the county, has to supply the liability insurance to cover the event, and also includes covering the city and the recreation department as co-insured. The second thing is the rec department is delaying the start of their fall soccer season. So they requested a specific timeline to get repairs and maintenance done on the area that they're working in, and would schedule the superintendent of our city parks as well as the director or a delegate from the Burlington Rec Commission Center to also be at that to schedule and look at the repairs. Basically, we don't know if the circles will be out of there on Sunday or whether they'll be getting out of there final on Monday. Don't know that. So we scheduled at 8:30 on the 20th, which is a Tuesday, and that'll give just over 24 to 36 hours to get any repairs made that need to be made for the safety of the youth that will be playing on those fields. Also, with 500 people or so possibly being present, adequate restroom facilities will need to be provided on site, so that that can be taken care of with porta-johns or whatever means or mechanism that the county wants to do. And fourthly, just to make sure that all debris is removed and properly disposed of. And that's basically all that does. Okay, so it's something that everybody that utilizes Kelly Park under contracts with the city has to, I hate to use the word contract, agreements, that the same responsibilities that the Fair Board has to do, same thing Burlington Promotions has to do. The city covers the same thing when we do our fireworks and our fireworks display. We have to take out the special insurance for the events. So with the potential of having the barbecue, the rodeo, a car show, my suggestion is that the insurance just flatly covers the whole park, because you don't know where all these people are going to be that are there under the events that you're sponsoring. So what I've got is I've got 3 copies of the same comments for your signature. Scott has signed off on it, I've signed off on it, and then with the 3, each particular group will have an original. The rec center, the city, and the county. So
A question.
Yep.
Restrooms is no problem. Electricity, city gonna provide electricity?
They've already talked with the city. The circus people have been and has talked with the city with respect to
So
that.
you can make it adequate electricity for them?
Yeah, all those, I'll call parking stalls down there for campers, they've got the electricity to service basically everything they need.
Okay.
And that's all there.
That's all taken care of?
Yes, that's taken care of. Yep.
This agreement or contract is, Wade looked at that and approved it.
He hasn't looked at it, our attorney has looked at it, the rec center's attorney had looked at it. And like I said, it's one simple page with the 4 items that I just discussed. But he can look at it if he chooses. But the key thing is, the city's not gonna carry the liability of the insurance on it. Now, we can change the verbiage, I don't care, but the key thing is that the city and the rec center will be held, I would say co-insured with the county and the circus or the carnival, the barbecue, the car show, you know, the rodeo, whatever it else is, that will be included in
But
that
to me,
particular week.
none of these four is unreasonable.
Yeah. Now, there's
They're not reasonable.
nothing else that we look at requiring.
Yeah, we can have Wade look at it and take action on it next week.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I don't want,
I'll just leave you all 3 copies, and then you can get Wade, or you can get in touch with me or somebody, Anita, I don't care who, or Angie, I should say. And we'll get back, get up, pick it up, get it to everybody, and everybody will have it for their files. Okay?
Very well.
All right?
Thank you, Stan.
And the last week of April is what we're looking at for, I don't have the exact date yet for the water line shutdown.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and we'll know a little, they're working on one of our water towers now. Once that's done, we'll be able to schedule a better date to know exactly which day, because everybody's got a different magnitude of water use in the area that we're under concern, that we're working with, so we'll maximize the opportunity. Okay,
Very good.
all right.
Very good.
Thanks, Stan.
That's all the damage for today.
thank you, Stan.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care, thanks.
Mr. Jeff. We're only 6 minutes late. It wasn't looking good there for a while.
Well, I'll try to keep you moving. I'm here because I was here about 2 weeks ago. We talked about a truck. I was able to go look at it. Told them we'd like to have it. It does meet our needs. There was a question on the transmission. It's a ACN transmission, which is a version of Allison. And I've been told that they have built several of these trucks since Master Tech started, and they haven't had trouble with them, but
Yes,
flip a coin, exactly.
Are you running any of those, Tims, in any of your trucks?
This truck will come with full 5-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty, which I would hope would give us that protection there. If we ran into trouble, I can't tell you parts availability and all that.
been in the shop since December the 27th.
Yeah, sitting on a Dodge.
Yeah, it's still not put together.
Is it the transmission?
Yes,
Really?
one of them is.
Right, well.
The pipe has been updated.
But that's heavy. That's heavy work, is it not? Pulling trailers?
Well, not that heavy.
Not that heavy.
It's 26 foot, 32 foot gooseneck with cabinets in it, not real tough.
Well, we won't be pulling a trailer, which will be one satisfaction.
Gear ratio makes a difference as well.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how many gears. This is a 6-speed. I don't know.
6 speed.
6-speed.
It's the same tranny.
Well, and I tried to do some checking. My understanding is Chevy, Ford, Dodge are all using pretty well the same version, the same transmission. They just call it something different. It's all under the Allison umbrella, is my understanding.
I understand that.
Yeah, so anyway, that's, what I'm here to hope to get approval for that cabin chassis. We did measure it, our bed will fit. It's not that much taller.
And that's the same price you talked to us about
70
or anyway,
Yeah, it should be in motion, $74,569.
That's what I was looking for. I was looking for the motion. I
It's
thought
the
it was
bottom.
here. Oh, it's the bottom of the white one? Oh, okay.
It's on the yellow tab, yeah, bottom
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so, but the only thing we could come up with that was a little bit different is the frame behind the axle is about 1.5 feet shorter than what we had. We just have to adjust and deal with it. That's what we're thinking. It's not gonna be that crucial.
Oh, you wouldn't have to add to it, would you?
I don't think so. It's been talked about. I don't know. I think it could go either way.
Could you guys taper that frame from where it's sitting at now, taper it in and extend it out to where it's clear to the back?
Potentially.
And not have to do a big frame extension type
Right.
deal on it?
Potentially. Craig just, one of the reasons we kept this bed after the fire was Craig and his guys just went through it not too long ago. Put all new stringers under it, put new floor, we spent quite a few dollars. Pretty beefy, it's even beefier now than it was when it comes factory.
Frame without it.
Could possibly, you know, we're talking about hanging over a foot and a half, it may not even affect the overall performance of that. I think I brought it up before, I'm hoping I can get approval on this. Haven't even entered into discussion, there's gonna have to be some discussion later about the Master Tech upfitters getting us a price, cause some of this stuff that needs added to that truck is gonna have to be done professionally, signed off on, so we can maintain our factory warranty. The outriggers, they bolt directly to the frame, and there's a few things that, you know, if you go to modifying, if we went to modifying ourselves, we could lose out on that warranty, so I don't have a price, I'm just happy to be this far right now.
So we wanna go and hit that motion now? We'll go backwards.
Sorry, that's the one thing I had on my mind.
Okay. Motion, 2022-22, based upon the recommendation of the county engineer and the county attorney as formed, to waive purchasing policy for one new 2022 Ram 5500 chassis, regular cab, 108-inch wheelbase, C/A 4x4 for good cause due to availability and purchase. Pricing. Purchase will be made from Wichita Kenworth with a purchase price of $74,569, which includes factory warranty for 5-year, 100,000-mile powertrain. Funds to be paid from the 2022 General Fund Public Works Equipment line item.
I'll move it. I'll second.
Tom's moved, Don seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
When will you get this picked up?
I'm not sure. I mean, I can go get it today if you wanna see it.
No, I don't want to see it, I just want to know when's it available.
I'll talk, it's available right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that we went and looked at is actually on the ground in Wichita, so.
Are they gonna have to put the bed on before they can do the outrigger stuff?
I'll enter into that discussion this week or next with,
Okay.
I'll have them send somebody up and take a look at our bed situation and, see how to proceed from there.
That's it.
My understanding is, it seemed like our pump was still good, so it didn't take on fire damage. You know, they are gonna have to set up the power takeoff for us and outriggers. I don't know.
There's still several thousands of dollars it's gonna have.
There's a few, yeah, there's definitely gonna be a few. So we'll try to work out, you know, what we can do ourselves, and what they'll have to do. I'd hope it's not all them, but I don't know at this point just yet. So.
When you're getting into busy time, are you gonna have enough time to do what you need to do?
Yeah.
Or would it be best to take the bed down there and have them do it?
That's potential. I mean, I'll talk to them in the next couple of weeks. See, they're gonna have a hard time coming up with solid numbers as well, because, you know, if I was buying a truck, it's turnkey. Your truck and bed package is turnkey. Here it is. This is, you know, probably some gray areas, retrofit, gray areas on how much time something might take, and so I don't know how black and white we'll be able to get the numbers, but at least we'll be able to get some ideas and estimates. So.
So we did the 2022, that was done. 2022-21, employment summer seasonal, request authorization to advertise and hire up to 11 temporary seasonal employees. Oh, I guess that's maybe not mine, is it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So we approved that.
Yeah, we approved that last week. Okay, because here's the 2022-21. Move to accept and sign CP2 for Travis Stratton Summer help, subject to regular IPP, wage classification 30-1, light equipment operator, with a wage of $17.32, effective date 4/11/22, number of hours worked not to exceed 1,000.
I'll move.
Tom moved,
I'll second.
Tim second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. I guess,
Next board, next three are the same thing, just name changes.
yeah, the next, this next one is to sign CP2 for Chris
Chase Fair.
Chase Pear, summer help, not to exceed 1,000 hours, same classification.
I'll
Effect- Tom's moved, effective dates 4/11, same thing.
I'll second.
Tim seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, motion passes. Next one is for the CP2 for Jess Stutzman. Summer help not to exceed 1,000 hours, same as the last two.
I'll move.
Bob's moved,
I'll second.
Tim seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, everything good, all pass. Next one is the same. Move to accept and sign CP2 for Sadie
Lizer.
Summer help, same 30-1, not to exceed 1,000 hours, $17.32 an hour.
I'll move.
Tim's moved,
I'll second.
Don second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. The next one is for Kenneth Woods, CP2 for Kenneth Woods, summer help, wage classification 35-4, heavy equipment operator, with a wage of $19.46. Start is 4/11, not to exceed 1,000 hours.
I'll move.
Bob's moved. All second. All in favor say, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Just one other quick thing to pass on, unless you guys have questions. Ryan wanted me to say, I think Wayne brought up a couple weeks ago that we was looking at stockpiling ships at Mark Collins's at 16th and Trefoil. That's kind of fell through. So we're looking at 15th and Trefoil. Jim Traeger's got an old rock quarry that was there. He doesn't own it anymore, but Ryan has been in contact with the new owner, so we're looking at that. It's just a couple miles away.
How's the county line coming up north?
I'd have to ask Wayne.
Okay.
Something that I'm not involved in, so no, I'm not even sure the process or where it's at.
Okay.
So I'll bring that up to Wayne. Hopefully he can bring you an update on that next week when he's here. So,
Are you're referring to the agreement?
Yeah, with Osage County or Arbonia Township?
Yep, I've got it. I'm just going through the legalities of it.
Okay. Should be wrapped up fairly soon.
Yep.
Did Osage County already sign off on it?
I don't think it would be Osage County, I think it would be the township.
Arbonia Township, yeah. Have they signed off on it yet?
That I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. I'm sure they will.
thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Fourth Judicial District Community Corrections Director Dustin Browning.
Morning, Dustin, how you doing?
Good, how are you? Good morning, Commissioners. Dustin Browning, I'm the Director of Community Corrections for the 4th Judicial District. We supervise adult and juvenile felony offenders in Franklin, Osage, Anderson, and Coffee counties. And we are requesting an office space within this building. I know Wade's brought to you some of the specifics that we're looking at. I'm here today to bring you some more statistics. I've looked over some of the YouTube videos from prior meetings. We currently supervise about 60 cases here in Coffee County, and those are all adult cases. So those are adult felony offenders that reside in the community, and we supervise them through programming and in the hopes of keeping them out of prison. Overall, as a district, we supervise about 200 active adult felony cases, day in and day out. So if that gives you an idea of kind of what we have going on here in Coffee County and the need for our security concerns and the space that we have now just doesn't really meet that. So that's why we've brought before you a request to have a more secure location like one inside this building. I know a question was asked before about when we would be down here. The officer that works down here is typically down here 2 days a week, usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She's typically in the office from around 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Those hours could certainly change depending on our physical location as well. And we could also spend more time down here as well. It could be 2 to 3 days a week, probably at most. So right now, that officer is actually splitting time between a Coffee County caseload and a Franklin County caseload, and she has a current caseload of 87 adult offenders. It's high. Wow. It's very high. Our staffing issues with community corrections are pretty dire right now, but that's another conversation. So,
yes, sir.
I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have that you might have from what Wade has presented to you before.
Dustin, so the board is aware, and maybe the public, so there's two tiers of supervision. One is court services, which is, I guess, a court function, and then community correction. What's the difference between the two, and why are there two different tiers? Is that something you can answer?
Why is a good question. That's just how the state has it set up. But you're correct. Court services operates under the judicial branch, so it's a function of the court. They typically supervise misdemeanor cases and some low-risk felony cases. Community corrections is a function of the executive branch of government, so all of our operation comes from the Kansas Department of Corrections. That's how we receive all of our funding, and we get grants every year to do this. That is our only source of funding here in the 4th District. And so we supervise moderate and high-risk felony offenders only. We also supervise some pre-sentence Senate Bill 123 cases, and those are your drug offense cases. And we get those before they're sentenced to get the programming started, and then once they are sentenced, we continue that supervision. But all of our clients are sentenced to probation with us.
But what are some of the duties and responsibilities of a community correction supervision officer?
That's a great question. We follow Kansas Department of Corrections standards. So they have standards set forth for all community corrections offices statewide. We have to follow evidence-based practices in our community supervision. So we have to meet standards on what we're doing, how we're doing it. We use risk need assessments to identify what level somebody might be on with supervision. That supervision level changes throughout time. If somebody starts out as a more high risk and over time we're working well with them and we bring that risk level down, we tailor that supervision as well. So where somebody's high risk, we might see them for 4 or 5 times a month, so weekly, give or take, for usually 15 to 30 minutes of time, unless there's something dire that we need to address with that particular client. So again, somebody's supervising around 80 clients, and they've got to balance these clients that they see 3 times a month, something like that. Ideally, if we had more staffing, we would be also running programming. And so we would do some cognitive behavioral programming to try to change that criminal thinking pattern and try to bring that risk level down even farther. But since our staffing level is what it is right now, we're unable to offer that programming. So that's another use for the space that we'd be looking at here in the courthouse, is to offer some kind of groups and do some of that thing, so where we can kind of help that risk level go down a little bit farther.
So the sheriff and undersheriff are here, and I asked them to show up for this presentation. Security and what, right now you have your community corrections officer meet at least up until 6 p.m. The courthouse would close at 5. What would you need as far as any type of resources from law enforcement or their availability if the meetings occurred after 5?
I think something just like availability, if we had something like a panic button, for example, and just knowing that sheriff's deputies are pretty close by physically. I don't think that we would require any law enforcement presence inside the building with us or anything like that. Though we do supervise a high-risk population, we strive to have a really good rapport with those folks, and so knock on wood, we haven't had any issues yet in our current location, but I think there's always the potential for that, and to have some kind of availability of somebody that can get there pretty quickly would be really handy.
So these people are among the civilians anyway.
They are.
So.
You mentioned in a follow-up email, and I think it went to me and went to Don as members of the board, possibly adding a Ring doorbell. If you could maybe explain why that would be something you'd want, and then maybe there's some other options with the county that could serve that same purpose.
Sure. So we currently occupy a space within a private law office here in town. It's just one office inside of that building, and we have a Ring doorbell camera outside the office where clients will come up and they'll ring that and let the officer know that they're here. Then any motion is recorded on that doorbell camera. I propose that if we have a space in the courthouse that we do something similar and just bring the Ring camera over here. I believe Court Services has one on their door as well. And we could place that anywhere that's convenient to alert the officer that the client is here. They could do some two-way communication with them through that doorbell camera system and let them know what the instructions are to fill out the form, have a seat here, etc. So it's a very handy device. It's worked well for us so far.
So that Ring doorbell, that would have to be on the basement door, would it not?
Can I mention, well, in the officer's name, and I can't remember her name.
Sarah.
I was gonna second it, Sarah. The entrance could be used if somebody could ring from there, since it's not a public entrance, but if she was expecting somebody at that door and she could meet them at that door. And we've also spoken to Kansas Security, who does the security systems, and they could do the motion sensor type camera. So she said they said that's more reliable than a camera that you have to shut on and off. If you get in a hurry, forget to turn it on, the motion, it records before and after, senses the motion.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So that's already in the works.
Good deal.
Is there anything required inside the meeting room?
No, standard stuff. We need room for a desk, filing cabinet.
No cameras, no nothing?
We don't need a camera, but through talking with Andrea, it seems like a camera might be a nice addition, especially to record this.
And it would only be in that office. It wouldn't be, as of now, there's one when somebody walks in the door, but there's not one all the way through. So I mean, that's something we could add as well if you wanted. But
So the recommendation would be for in that room, in that meeting room, similar to what's available in Court Services, as a toggle switch, similar to what's on the wall here. And if there's a meeting taking place, then that can be turned on and off. And that's for not only the security of the community corrections supervising officer, but for the person who's coming in, so that there's, if any allegations are made at any point in time, especially in that type of environment, it's a safety mechanism for both parties. Now, you did mention in the email about phone access and what you do in, I think, Anderson County, and at least in Anderson County, your board or your community corrections pays for the phone service.
Correct.
And what that would look like here, and I think just as a discussion point, so they're aware and they can choose how they want to deal with that particular issue.
Sure, and I can talk about that a little bit too. Anderson County does provide us a space in their courthouse. It's around 715 square feet. It's got a large room that we can use for groups like I've talked about, and also a private office to hold our office contacts, as well as a private bathroom to collect drug specimens or urine specimens for drug testing. And I've looked at the office space down here, and that would definitely allow us some of the same flexibility with the conference room adjacent to it and bathrooms down the hall. But we do have CenturyLink that provides phone and internet access to us inside the courthouse, and we pay for that separately, whereas Anderson County does not charge us anything for rent for that space. So that's really our expenditures down there for that space.
What is your monthly fee, if you can estimate, for the phone service in Anderson County?
It's around $200 a month for both phone and internet there.
And is the internet in Anderson County, is it on a separate secure network specific to the fourth, or how does that work?
That one through CenturyLink?
Correct.
It's not any kind of secure network. It's something that you would just get if you were a resident, getting your phone and internet service.
I know this is something that's been discussed at the meetings here for the last several months, and I don't think there's any question, I probably should have been more proactive and, than bringing it up earlier, what it was brought up at, but I know it looks like you kind of need to find a new location, and if there's any place here in the courthouse that could be provided, and work for you as well as work for us, to me, it's something we need to try to put together, and be much better with what services you provide for our county. And when you talk about working with 60 different individuals, that's a heck of a caseload.
It is.
I'm not opposed to it whatsoever. I think it's great. I think it's probably a great location. But how flexible is this? You said to be here Tuesdays and Thursdays, because we have 8 more months this year. And we are actually going to meet as a commission on those 8 months. 4 of those, that is where we do our executive sessions. And if that person is there or has a client in there at the time, I'm not gonna say we're gonna have executive sessions, Wade, maybe more can answer that, but if we do, we need that because we need to continue on as a county.
For sure.
So how flexible can that be for your officer to?
We're flexible.
Okay.
We can definitely change when the officer's down here and then make those accommodations.
We're only talking four days out of the next 8 months. But
Sure.
That is a possibility and it may not happen, but still we wanna look at all avenues.
Of course.
So do we need a motion to, what?
Well, I think the discussion on phone service, do you want them to cover their own phone service and internet? Do you want them to tap into the county? That's one thing.
I personally, if it's just a line, I have no problem with using our system and our internet system. I mean, it's not like it's gonna break us as a county. To me, I have no problem with this providing it. I mean,
It's there in the office anyway.
it's there.
So,
They go to phone, right there in that office, hook up in that office, so that's not a problem. Internet hookups in that office. I personally have no problem with it.
so basically the motion would be supplying the corrections, Fourth Judicial District office space, phone, internet for their 2 days a week.
Building access, they
Building
probably need a card, and my recommendation would be to get a card for the outside downstairs access. Only, I don't know if they need a key to the building.
If they got a card, they don't need a key
Right.
Their card should also get them into that
to that
office.
building, or into that office as well.
Right.
Because there's a lock on it now.
Yep.
And those are the same.
Electronic lock.
Yeah.
Sheriff,
Little
I'm
round.
sure if you see any issue with that setup.
Should have been done a long time ago, I think. So, like I said, the after hours, after 5 PM, all we're gonna ask is that community corrections, and again, when it's set up that they're gonna be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we can have our dispatch monitoring that camera system, so if there is an issue, we're also monitoring, that room or that hallway or whatever, so again, it'll all just mesh greatly. I think it's a great project, and
While we may not have a deputy right there waiting, there are officers in town that you'll have immediate access to dispatch, and that's gonna be the advantage of this. And that way, we'll know exactly where you're at, where you're not just a back office in some building downtown.
trying to grab a phone.
You'll have quicker access here than you will where the current location.
Absolutely.
Be much safer for everybody involved.
And again, I think that last I talked to Brad or whatever, they were talking about redoing all the panic buttons in the entire courthouse. So I don't know if there's a panic button down there, what he can do, but that can easily be set up probably for their safety too, so.
There is a panic
There
button
is
in
an
that.
existing.
There is.
button.
There you go.
There is,
So-
and it just needs rewired.
Yep,
to be
there
done.
you go.
Sounds like a good fit.
Sounds like a good deal.
Wonderful.
100% supporting.
So we do the motion,
Also move.
Don's moved,
I'll second.
Tim second. Any further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Now, you're set up to be here next, 2 weeks and tomorrow for your next.
A week from
meeting?
tomorrow.
A week from
A
tomorrow.
week from tomorrow is our advisory board meeting, yeah.
Okay, I'll get ahold of Stephanie, 'cause I think she normally arranges something for Darren.
Should I?
You know, that office down there, is it big enough to hold, you know, there was 10 of us meeting in there today. We could almost hold our meetings in that room too, couldn't we?
We could, I'm sure.
That way it would open up, wouldn't tie up the basement. Cause there's normally about, 8, 10, 12, if that would work for you.
Fine by me.
Well, we can pull, there are a couple more tables to pull in, but we got that desk that you saw when you were in that desk probably needs to go. So we put a better table in there now, but they're both down there for you to pick whichever one you want, and we'll get rid of the other one. And then there's
That
more.
saves getting the basement ready.
Yeah, and then we can have more, the other tables set back up in that meeting room.
When did you anticipate moving your officer in? Today?
Oh, I don't think today.
Those two aren't doing anything, they can help.
Okay, thanks. We do have quite a bit of stuff over there, filing cabinets and supplies, office equipment and stuff, so it's
And we
probably
did move a cabinet as well over there for you, but the camera, and I get with Kansas Security, they were here on Friday, they don't have a date for when he's gonna be here to actually install it, but I can call and see if he has a date on the schedule.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah, everything else is ready to go.
Sounds good. So yeah, probably a couple weeks.
Very well.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Well, now we're setting good on timing, guys, ladies and gentlemen.
This may have something.
You got anything?
Just
For
that,
us?
first drill in a long time's coming up next week, so looking for good participation and, hopefully iron out any bugs before we get into our pre-exercise in July and then are evaluated into August. But just a reminder, it is coming up, so. We do.
What day is
20th.
it? 20th?
Yep.
It's on a Wednesday?
Yep,
Train
so
on 20.
I'm sure several of you guys haven't even seen one yet, so that'll be a new experience. You're definitely invited to come out to the EOF in the Joint Information Center to see how things go if you're not busy. And the state of Kansas is participating as well, so if you haven't been up there, it's interesting to see too. A lot of people involved.
I could only imagine.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys got anything else for us, or? You don't have nothing? I guess we can just go through and sign our life away on some things. That was the end of the book, wasn't it?
Yep.
I believe
Hey,
so.
Bob, talk about this, you would, and then send you the around.
Angie, did, Jeff give you any originals, or where did he get
Sorry.
them? Because nobody signed them from the originals.
We can take a break.
Take a break.
Come
I
back
won't
at,
argue.
come back at 10:10. They give us enough time.
10:10?
10:10?
Or
I got it
11:10.
quick.
11:10? 11:10? Why you got any stuff for us to do?
A few brief things,
You got a few brief things?
then I'll be here this afternoon.
Yeah.
I've got your list.
Are you gonna be present?
Yep.
In those? Yep, okay.
You would ask that I be present, so I will be present.
Oh, mercy, my back hurts. So you had a good trip, Tom?
Yeah,
Where'd you head to?
went down to Phoenix.
That's where you were last trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a annual golf tournament, benefit golf tournament. Second annual.
I'm sorry?
It was the second annual.
Yeah. You play golf?
I hit the ball.
That's the way mine is. My golf.
Well, sometimes, I don't always hit
My
it.
golf is not golf. I haven't played golf for a year plus. Sometimes I don't hit the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, could be. Yeah, I wonder if that's an old cop car.
It is,
The county,
I think.
I wonder why they ain't traded in.
Wonder how many hours.
Well, I guarantee it's got a lot of hours. How many miles is on it?
137.
I bet it's got 20,000 hours on it.
Okay, you're right.
I got today, I think, $4,000.
Well, yeah, you did. That was funny. I don't know if you like that or not.
You know, they just throw those bills out here, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try this just one time.
It worked.
Talking about a couple $1,000.
I think you saved 4. Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to start doing that.
Hey, what are they gonna do, say no?
Exactly. Groaned before I sat down.
Time was supposed to start raining.
It's not. I'm not gonna allow
They said
it.
it was going
It's more right now, I thought. How they change it all the time, depending on what channel you watch.
Exactly. Weather bug don't say anything about storms for here tomorrow.
Cause you're listening to the bug.
13 was talking about this morning.
I don't watch 13, 27, or 49.
I just watch the weather.
See if weather bug updated. Clearing off by 2 p.m. Tomorrow windy, rain about 4. And that's only a 60% chance. Down here next Wednesday. Lincoln, Nebraska, the 22nd.
You mean on Wednesday?
Down here for the
Wolf Creek.
Wolf
Oh,
Creek.
yeah, duh.
Tuesday night, ECAN. Wednesday here. Work at Midwest on the 21st and leave for Lincoln the 22nd. Busy week.
Are you going with anyone this weekend?
I was gonna ask if anybody wanted to. Imagine I'll be told no. 3 hours and 45 minutes one way.
Yeah. Okay.
I think is there a zoning planning board meeting this week? No. I bet that's the 20th. I bet it's the same dang day as the drill.
You'll be down here all day and night. Don't feel bad. Tuesday night I'll be in Ottawa. ECAN. She has Tylenol.
Oh, that was my last one back and get some.
I know the feeling. That helped. That helped relieve me.
Good. I was out, we were out in the wind so much, and it was totally, my dad, my neck, hurt, just started.
Yeah.
And Dad's like, it's 'cause the cold weather, you don't have anything around your neck. And I was like, is that what happens when we get older? He goes, everything happens when you get older.
Exactly. Or nothing happens.
All the above.
All the above.
Move our interview to an hour.
How about time we do round table, we'll get out here and take lunch, do that, right?
Yeah, it will be.
This Wade gets done.
Uh-oh, Wade's got that look.
Unless I'm long-winded.
Wade gets done beating us up.
Wade, you wanna ride up to Lincoln, Nebraska with me Friday?
And as much as I'd enjoy spending some time with you, I might take
Just
a
not
hard,
that much time.
I might take a hard pass. Can I take a rain check?
I don't go to Lincoln very often.
I mean, I hear it's nice this time of year.
I'm sorry.
We'll find out.
For fuel?
I looked up, I gotta leave at 4 o'clock in the morning. Starts at 8.
Yeah, that's even more of a hard no now.
Mark could ride up with me. You wanna go and cover 30 by 30 in Lincoln, Nebraska?
I think that'd be a good thing for Mark to do.
Be at Waverly at 4 o'clock on the 22nd.
AM.
What day's the 22nd? Friday.
Friday.
Damn, I already got plans.
Oh.
I actually do have plans. I'm meeting with.
For real.
For real. In Crocus.
Yeah, small field. Looks like 2 transport loads.
Well, that's pretty reasonable for transport load.
Well, they were separate, so one, it might be half gas and half diesel. And they were all put together with this.
You got a over there that needs signed.
Oh, I didn't know that. I forgot about it.
Retirement savings. That's all gonna be gone.
I don't trust the stock market. You gonna what?
Identify as being age 67.
Yeah, why not? Son said he's gonna change nationality to Indian so he gets 3 hunting licenses.
I think I'll identify at 67. That's what I did today.
Yeah.
So-called social security tomorrow.
There you go.
And I'm 67.
There you go.
Still dope thing?
All training. Training bill for this king on it.
Salary resolution, again.
For training?
Training. Sure don't want that thing to die.
All right. Bob, you'll pass him on down, that goes with that first batch.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
When's the first meeting for the committee? Has that been set? Or are you bringing that up?
I was gonna talk about
Okay,
that.
well then I'll.
You're
shut
reading
up.
my mind.
Oh, that's scary. Just as long as you're not reading mine, we're okay. That's incriminating evidence right there. Especially after yesterday.
When are these youngins showing up?
Probably around Thanksgiving.
Change your life, Jesse.
Something needs to change. I know that. Didn't think it was gonna be me though.
We'll talk about that, so.
Thank you.
I'll give you mine, It's a pie.
Get used to that word grandpa, cause you're
Not
gonna hear
for
it.
new.
There's gonna be pop, that's the sound a gun makes.
Yep, you wanna make two more.
Yeah, okay.
So Mark has one too, so he doesn't feel left out.
You need to watch the series, it's got, Sam Elliott in it.
Yellowstone?
No, it's kind of, it's a sitcom type deal.
The ranch?
The Ranch. You need to watch that. I think Bob has enjoyed that.
Or I have to check that out. Yeah, I always like Sam Elliott.
No, he's good in it.
He's always good in it.
We need more electronic contractors, $2,400. Too bad solenoids. Rest with labor.
I had a truck go to the shop for 2 days last week. Couldn't find out what was wrong with it. Changed the batteries, cleared it up. I give up.
Go back to the days you unhook your battery post and you hook it back on and take off.
Yep. Clear out all the gremlins.
Ew.
even if we gotta finish up roundtable, because I figured we probably have a little time after each one. Drill starts Sunday, or the 20th, 8 o'clock in the morning.
I'll check.
Will you please send me a reminder?
I know, it seems like it's sneaking up quickly.
Are they gonna actually do the call out?
And do play it like everyone will get their claims and.
Okay. Yeah, let me know the day before, please. Lord knows where I'll be.
And every time everyone says anything, they should say that they're gonna exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse, I saw, had to be on the internet or on the news, people driving down, I think I-70 and watching semis blow over. Have you been a part of something like that before?
Have not.
Most of them high profile blocks or trailers. We saw one Wednesday.
Yeah,
Most of them were sitting at the rest areas, kind of waiting for the wind to die down. This guy's brave didn't pan out for him.
Campers as well. I've seen campers piled up in the ditch before, but not semis. I mean, you see the aftermath coming through. I was coming out of Montana one day, and they was talking about the front range wind speeds upwards of 100 mile an hour, and I cut off and headed southeast through eastern Wyoming and western Nebraska to get away from all that mess.
Right.
Which I wasn't high profile or nothing, but still I didn't want to be there dealing with it.
Sure. I think in one of the videos you see somebody already tipped over and then you see another semi driving by and all of a sudden it just...
Yep. Yeah. All of ours lower profile.
I think a lot of them they're not loaded down either. They don't have enough weight to keep them up.
That's a lot of surface.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have a 53-foot trailer that's 11 foot high.
Right.
You know. That's, well, your overall height's 13 and some change.
That's a billboard.
That's a big billboard. Take a sheet of plywood out in that wind.
That's all I could do to get out and gas up the car.
Yep.
We're a little different. You're driving down the interstate on a motorcycle and you're leaning about like this, and then you pass one of those semis.
Yep.
You really, and then as soon as you come back out.
Yep. We did that in
Yeah.
Nebraska on I-90, or in South Dakota on I-90.
I was dodging tumbleweeds is what I was doing. You have to slow down and let one pass by. I ain't kidding. Big old tumbleweeds stuck in people's grills. I mean, it was horrible.
Oh, what was that? I can't remember. It was Friday morning. I was in Hutch, and they had so much wind. Thursday, they had sand drifts coming out of the fields. So I think we're ready for you, Mr. Wayne.
Okay. So first thing is, if you didn't know, and Andrea will know a whole lot more about this than I do, but it's National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which means dispatchers are one of those. We talk about law enforcement and jailers, but some of the unsung heroes in any community are your dispatchers. When you call 911, that's who you talk to. And they, when you make that call, dispatchers, they remain cool, calm, and collect while the person who's called 911 is in a panic. And they do so. I mean, Andrea's done it. I've listened to some of her calls when she was a dispatcher, and you know, you could probably explain what it's like being on that end and listening to people and walking them through an emergency situation. So if you know a dispatcher, even if you don't, you need to make sure, and this is for anybody who's out there who watches this, thank them, because they are a vital component of our public safety. And do you have anything?
Well, I think the important thing is that locations have gotten so much better, but they don't always know where you're calling from, and everybody thinks that as soon as you call, they instantly know exactly. Sometimes it's a cell tower, so all they know is that you're within 10-mile radius of a cell tower, and they have no idea where you are. So if you don't know where you are, they might, and sometimes they can keep trying and get a location, but it is a good idea to always know where you are. If you're traveling down the road, look at a mile marker, look at something to know where you are.
Yep. Now, is OnStar, does OnStar, how's that come in?
OnStar will get a lat long, so when they call in, they can usually pinpoint
Where's that? A lot better than cell.
pretty accurately sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can tell you exactly, and it's just north of this intersection of vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It's right, that's usually pretty right on.
I've often wondered how that worked.
Second thing, I handed out 2 sheets of paper. It's entitled Coffee County, Kansas. It's a workers' compensation graph. And it's 2 pages long, and it covers the period of time, data as of March 29, 2022. And basically what it does is go through and sort of break down what workers' compensation types and frequency have been lodged here in Coffee County. I asked Bobby from Trust Point to provide a periodic update. I think somebody had mentioned that at one point in time, who's claiming what in Coffee County, so this graph sort of gives you an indication, and then what's been paid out. So accident type, cut, puncture, struck by, overexertion, other NOC, I'm not sure what that means. And then struck against, 6 claims. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, the one thing you don't see there is something major or catastrophic, which is good for Coffee County. So I think it's good just to kind of bring that forward every now and then. There's risk in doing business, and especially with what some of the employees in Coffee County are a part of. I think you'd see something maybe more serious somewhere else. You know, what it makes me think of is 0 days since last accident. I don't know what that would be here in Coffee County, but I'd like to think, based on these statistics, that Coffee County the employees are pretty safe overall. If you want to see that. Any questions about that? I think that's a good idea to bring it up every now and then.
I think it's a good idea to bring it up.
All right.
That's one reason our mod rate is staying at the level it is.
Yeah.
If you have more accidents or more expensive accidents, that mod rate would be higher, be much more expensive for the county.
As would be your premium.
Our goal is 0.
Our county's gotta be very pleased with what our work comp is.
Yep.
I know it's not here, but, our last EMS meeting, number 1 reason for EMS calls in the state of Kansas is people falling on level ground. That just means walking and falling. Evidently, we're not having much of that, so.
I do it at home. I've probably done it here too. So. I've had a chance to briefly review the circus and carnival information the mayor brought in. The one question that I would have is in reference to paragraph 2. And it says, practice starts on the 21st, therefore Coffee County staff will meet with the director of the Burlington Rec Center and the city superintendent at 8:30 on the 20th to identify and repair all damages done to the property during the period of the event. Period of the event shall include all setup and tear down activities. All repairs shall be completed and accepted by the director of the Burlington Rec Center or his designated representative on or before the 10 a.m. on September 21st. What's the definition of damages, I guess?
Well, I would think that we would want to have somebody go down prior to and either drone fly capture what it looks like now, and then actually do a walkthrough of the area to maybe take pictures and just to do
prior to the circus coming
prior
into
to
town.
and after.
And that was gonna be my suggestion, because how do you know something wasn't there, and then it's,
Right.
and then do the repairs not need to be accepted by the county as well? It says to be accepted by the director of Burlington Rec Center. I mean, if those repairs are something that the county is going to have to cover, can the county not disagree? And, I mean, I think, so just looking at it, paragraph 2, I would suggest there be some modifications. That's just,
Sounds like it needs to be modified.
I mean, I understand why the city of Burlington used that wording, but, I mean, that protects the city of Burlington.
Right.
So, I'm here to help protect the county. So,
Yeah, we're gonna have to do our due diligence to make sure that we don't repair something that needed to be repaired in the first place. I don't know if a drone flyover will give you an oversee of the property, but you're gonna have to actually do a walkthrough. And if there's already divots there, you're gonna have to mark it on the map and take a picture of it and so on and so forth.
it's kinda like renting a car. You wanna do a walk around to the rental car, or a U-Haul a U-Haul's probably a better example, where they have the stickers on it that say prior damage, so you don't end up paying for something that somebody else did.
And walkthrough probably needs to have a city representative as well as the county.
As well as the
That
county.
way they're agreeing and signing the same
Yeah.
paper if it needs to be signed.
Yep.
Needs to be a representative at the same location at the same time.
So that would be prior to, when does the circus set up, on what day? I mean, they're gonna set up earlier, so we need to figure out.
I'm not sure.
It
we
says
got
the
set up.
15th, 16th, and 17th.
That was August?
September. I'm thinking he said set up on Wednesday, the 14th.
So, I mean, those contingencies need to be built in so that prior to any setup,
I would say the 12th or the 13th need to
Yeah.
go through, somebody needs to go through, rather it be Bobby. He's got a drone. You could have Bobby out there with a drone. You could have somebody else with the city, representing the city, go out, and I'd take some flags.
And I would not only where the circus is, but it sounded like that they're gonna let them use all the parking spaces too. We're gonna check those out, make sure that they're
So this
not
is-
bad boxes or anything.
this is the map that's included with their
Yeah.
document, so, I mean, it's a pretty wide area.
Scope, yeah. I know the barbecue was a question.
All of it past the surface was a possibility.
Possibility,
Not
so-
not an exact.
So the circus is for sure.
The way I understood.
So that's,
But it's my understanding they were gonna let them use all this parking up here too, for
Mhm.
parking.
Correct.
so I mean, I think, is it all subject to being
Well,
repaired?
I think the main thing is the soccer field, the way Stan kind of, I mean, that's the way I would think it. It's not
Did we ever come up with a rain location?
A rain location?
Oh,
I don't think we have.
It was mentioned, but no follow-up discussion.
That's just the map that's attached to these.
That's what we looked at last week or 2 weeks ago.
So I'll work with, city attorney, see if we can, we got time.
Everybody will be here before we know it.
True. So, one of the things I wanted to bring up, and it's just a weather type issue, I had it up on my phone and then it just disappeared. But it's dealing with weather for tomorrow, and more about being, informed. Now I don't know where it went. So I'll come back to that. All right, there it is. So I watch a site, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of discussion about this, but I'd rather be too much information than not enough. And I'll just read you what the site says. They watched the weather, that tornado outbreak they had in the Kentucky, and I mean, they were on top of that. So it says, if you want to know how powerful the subtropical jet will be, then include Flagstaff, Arizona today. Winds up to 65 miles per hour. That means the subtropical jet will be roaring through the southern plains tomorrow with the low-level jet screaming from the southwest. The number one key, though, is the cap. How fast will it erode? That's the question. If it slowly erodes, then watch for isolated supercells with possible strong tornadoes. If it erodes faster, then it could get ugly fast in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas down I-35 corridor, I-44, and I-40. All the ingredients are there for tornadoes and strong ones if you're in the same significant patch. So Kansas, where we are, is right in that catchment area.
Yeah, we're right, with the diagram, and we're right square in the middle of it.
We haven't had that type of forecast in a while, so I think it's important that we're just all aware and planning for whatever's coming. Last thing that I have, I brought it up previously, and this is more just for informational purposes. I've been in negotiations with prosecutor by Carpel for the prosecutor program for the county attorney's office. So the program that the Coffee County Attorney's Office has now, as well as the majority of other counties in the entire state, the judicial branch went with a different program provider 2 years ago. So we had full case and full court, the two of them aligned, and that was started back in my Allen County days. Well, that just isn't working anymore. So all the prosecutors' offices in the entire state have to do something. The majority of the prosecutors' offices are going with this Carpel Solutions program. In fact, Osage County Attorney's Office has agreed to go with this company. Franklin County's already gone with it. Anderson County's already gone with it. They were doing demos last week or the week before in Sedgwick, Lyon, and a bunch of other counties. Allen County's already gone with it. I only say this because it appears that the majority of prosecutors' offices across the state are going to eventually go live with this program. Are there other providers out there? Yes, but in my research and what I've discovered, I think this particular program best suits the needs of prosecutors across the state. And when the time comes, I'll be asking for a waiver of the purchasing policy because of the specifics of this computer program that it will bring to the office. So at least the price tag initially for installation and the one-time cost, $28,700. Total first-year costs that will deal with support and everything that would be a yearly fee is $2,700. So a total first-year cost, $31,400. I had requested last year that, and I think for the 2 previous cycles, that $25,000 be in my budget to cover new software because I knew this was coming. At the end of last year, I asked that $25,000 be bumped over to this year for software. So there's $25,000 that I designated from last year to be applied to this year. So $31,400 is for the software, for the installation, all the training that goes with it. What it won't include is there will need to be new, probably laptops for each of the employees in the office. There will need to be scanners because this is a completely paperless system, and there are numerous advantages to the system. Now, do I like the idea of going paperless? Absolutely not. I like to have something in my hand, but that's where the future is, at least in this type of setting. So more planning seats, that $31,400 will obviously be locked in, but it will be potentially $10,000 more once you pay for computers, pay for scanners, and any other periphery computers and software, and I don't know what all would be needed. I just want to, so there's no sticker shock, I want to give you a heads up. I'm all about letting you know something's coming way before it happens, and that's what I'm doing now. I will need to finalize and lock in my contract as soon as I can, because the go live date, if I signed it right now, is May 22nd, 2023. So there are more and more counties that are signing up, and that extends that date. So even if we're looking a year from now before it was fully implemented. So that's...
Will that be like a shared network with other counties? Would you be able to see what is there, and would they be able to see what is here? Is that kind of why it'd be kind of nice to be all your surrounding counties kind of on the same page?
One of the biggest features of, well, some of the biggest features of this program, and we've already had a demo with the sales guy. I've talked to Brandon Jones, who's the county attorney in Franklin County. He brought that program in during the pandemic in Franklin County. It's also in Anderson County and Allen County. I've talked to all these people. And the staff at each of those counties, and especially from the staff that is my former staff in Allen County, I mean, it's a headache for them. Some of them are a big fan of it, but it actually probably makes things more efficient. Now, to answer your question, one of the key features for multiple counties being a part of it is every year the legislature modifies and passes new legislation that deals with new criminal laws. What that means is the new supplements come out, and the charging language for criminal charges has to be updated and modified. Through the old program, that would happen through an update to the particular program. So let's say in 2016 there was an update, but it would only update that particular charging language, and somebody would actually have to go in and physically create that charging language. The more counties that are a part of this, and there's 30, 35, maybe more counties on board already live, you can go in and that charging language is already there. If, let's say in July, new criminal statutes are modified, only one person, and it can be from any county, for that statute that they work with, they go in and update it, then it's updated for everybody. So you're pulling from that same, charging language database, which you can go and ask Anita or Whitney or Janine. Sometimes half the battle is finding the right charging language and the most up-to-date, and I cancel out and cross out things all the time because it's not the updated charging language, but that's what our database has, it's not updated. Probably the best feature and the biggest selling point of this software is the discovery feature. We can upload discovery that goes out to defense attorneys onto this program, including video, and send them a link, and it automatically is available to them right now. Paper discovery is not as big a deal, depending on how big the file is, but we can make a PDF file and send it to them. For certain types of things, I have to go through and redact personal identifiers before it goes out in discovery. The videos is the big one. We're spending, I don't know a figure, but originally when I got here, all video discovery, and we'll use the sheriff's department, they have body camera and patrol car video. That would be put onto a Blu-ray disc. And if you've ever tried to watch a Blu-ray disc, especially in the courtroom, when you hit play and if you need to go back and look at something again, you hear the audio but the video doesn't catch up, and it doesn't look good. It's not a good look. So I changed that, and I put all video on USB thumb drives, and then that gets sent out to attorneys that way, which is a lot easier, a lot more efficient, but to mail those is not, I mean, there's an expense there. We'd be able to cut all of those things out, so there's a cost savings overall that will come from this program. And I've been in a case where somebody said they didn't get something, and it's not happened here, but in other locations as a prosecutor, discovery-wise, anytime discovery is sent out through this system, there's an internal audit that shows when it was sent, when it was accessed, when it was downloaded, to show if I need to in the courtroom to say it went out and I show it was downloaded, it'll even show me the IP address. So it's a technologically advanced program. It's used all across the country in different locations. This system that we have right here is just built for Kansas, and it's only going to get better as time goes on because it looks like a number of other prosecutors' offices are signing on to it. So I don't have anything other than that. Just wanted to sort of let you know what was happening. If there were any questions, I will bring that forward at some point.
Sounds to me like you need to be getting signed up for it right now, so you get your spot.
It's reserved right now as long as I get it to them within the next several weeks.
So you've already got $25,000 in your budget, so it wouldn't take much more to finish it up.
So I have $25,000 in my budget, and I think I put another 25 because I anticipated that it would potentially be somewhere around $50,000 total. So.
Sounds like you got it in your budget.
Yep. Didn't want it to be a surprise or sticker shock to any of you, or probably more importantly to the taxpayers.
I would say get it and get in line.
So I'll also tell you, I've not purchased really anything for the office as it relates to chairs, desks, the file cabinets that we have. I picked them up from the appraiser's office when they updated theirs. I mean, I want to say the Titanic, but Titanic's probably not. They don't build them like that anymore. They're solid. Anita was happy that a drawer would actually roll out instead of falling out when we replaced them. So I'm fine with those. At some point in time, I will need to replace my chair. Apparently it goes back almost 20 years. And the arm is falling off, the bottom's been welded on several times, but I can't, to spend what the cost of the chair is, I just can't stomach
You
that.
take one of these with you.
Take one of these?
The
The blue one? Okay. So,
Are we selling any Saturday?
We got the old commission chairs, it was downstairs.
so, you'll probably see a new chair come through at some point in time.
I wouldn't blame you.
So why aren't you requesting this now then, so you can get your, I mean, this is what your intents are and you've got the money. Why aren't you just requesting it now and we could give you authorization or not, move on?
I like to plant seeds first and then bring it back so you have time to think about it if you want. I don't like, I mean, in my opinion, if I'm talking about an expenditure of that type of money, I want you to know ahead of time, have time to think about it, and if I bring it back and you don't have any questions, any issues, then I'm more comfortable that
I
way.
know absolutely nothing about what you just talked about, so if, to me, I've got to look at your recommendations.
Okay.
You need it, get it.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I will prepare something and get it to you.
Be back next week.
Monday.
Yep.
This afternoon.
If you can do all your research that you need to do by Monday, it sounds like you've already
Well,
went through a lot of it.
a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in the contract, so I just wanna make sure it doesn't, there's no negative connotation to go with that, but outside that.
So the yearly subscription is about $2,100 a year, and that's ongoing.
21 or 2,400.
That pays for all the updates and all the
Yep.
support.
Yep.
So is that any supportive help support? Normally those subscriptions get pretty radical on pricing, but
So, they will provide support, software updates, general program enhancements, technical support for all software provided, including ongoing unlimited telephone technical support, problem determination and resolution.
this is a web-based software, it's not housed on your computers.
Right, it's in the cloud, so that means that you could access it from
Anywhere.
Anywhere, which is a huge, so once you populate the program, I mean, it has some very useful information. So one of the other neat features is, right now we have to send victim notification out for all cases whenever we're gonna have a hearing. I meet with victims personally. So for some of them, in today's day and world, there's a feature where you can set it up through the program to, if this is what a victim chooses, to have them notified by text. You do it within the program, it sends out the text message, and then any response that they send also goes into the program, so you have, it's a really neat feature. And in today's day and time, a lot of people prefer to be notified by text. They don't check their mail. Everybody's pays for everything online and set up for auto pay. So when the mail comes in, it just goes into a pile with all the other mail, and if there's a victim notification, then it just doesn't get to them. The other thing is subpoenas for law enforcement. Instead of physically sending something to law enforcement, they can be emailed through the system. I mean, it has some built-in efficiencies that will help speed things up in my office.
Very well.
So, that's all I have. Unless you have something for me.
No, sir, I don't. Angie, you got anything for roundtable?
Let's see. Did you guys want to look at these surveys today, or you wanna wait till next week in executive session, or, I know you're running a little short on time now, so.
We maybe could do something after the two interviews. You're gonna be around, aren't you?
Yep.
I think we probably ought to get it taken care of.
It's something that needs to be at least looked at and maybe evaluated.
I don't have anything else.
Other than that, Tim?
No.
Tom?
Get anywhere on your, last week on the, job
The
description?
Job description.
I've got it.
Wade's got it.
Yep.
And then sorry, go ahead.
I'm working on it. I know there were some things that were crossed out that don't need to be there.
Right.
And then there were a couple suggestions I had to sort of.
Okay, we need to get that one rolling, in my opinion.
So, one question for the board related to that, will that person will they have oversight over the administrative staff there? Does that need to be included, because that's not in the current job description?
I would say it's important that they have overseeing administrative
This
staff.
person-
They'll be the boss of the road and bridge.
That's right, that person will be the top dog.
They're number one.
So it's not in the current one, and I think that's because they reported to an engineer who probably had that. The other question is, the current job description that you handed me from Marion County indicated, that position is administratively overseen by the county engineer. Who would have administrative oversight of this particular position? Would it be the board?
Board of Commissioners.
Board of Commissioners. Okay. That was my assumption, but I didn't wanna.
Couldn't want to assume.
Right.
I do have something, the church.
Oh.
I was gonna bring that one up next. Did you want help taking pictures, or were you gonna do that?
Well, I talked to that gentleman, and they post one post on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and basically you get one picture. So I asked him, how many can you take? And he said, well, if you do Instagram, you can take more than one, but I don't know how visible those are gonna be. They post one, and he had a post from a church that had, you know, some beautiful stained glass that didn't get much response. I was asking him about, you know, how many people come to the site, how many people. So he sent me an email back that said for the 250, instead of just doing the social media, he would also add it to his website. But after looking at how much traffic he gets, I don't know that he gets a lot of traffic to some of those. So I didn't know if we want to concentrate kind of on.
I looked at on Facebook. On Facebook, it don't look like he gets a lot of response unless they're just going there and looking.
Well,
There wasn't a lot of comments,
Right.
and that's my concern.
And
I would say they're probably not gonna make a lot of comments on it, because if somebody sees something on there that they want, they're not gonna make a comment on it, because Billy over here might want the same thing. So they just hurry up and get on the phone and get it, or whatever,
That
get it
makes
done,
sense.
you know. I mean, it's like,
Is there some way of telling how the results he's had that's went through his group?
Well, that's what I was kind of trying to get from him, is because it doesn't seem like he gets a lot of response on his social media pages anyway, so I didn't know if you want to do that and then it sits there for a while and then we're kind of starting over, or if you are having some success with somebody from Topeka, if we want to go.
Do we wanna put it out for bid?
I think we need to maximize every opportunity we can.
Because
Now,
we
you're
can't-
getting into stuff that I don't know nothing about.
I don't think any of us do, that's why we're
No,
not
I
having
don't.
a major discussion.
To me, the Myers from Topeka I spoke with, he's more interested in doing everything. I'm trying to weigh, is that the way to go, is it to
he's
sell
gonna do the
the,
demolition and everything.
yes,
The scavenge and demolition.
yeah,
And that brings me, though, I did have one request from a local church asking, would it be possible to have the sign that's out front? It used to be the lit sign, it's not in the greatest shape,
Setting
but
on 2-inch pipe, two-inch piece of the pipe.
is it possible to donate that to one of the churches who would use that as a sign?
But then what's the next church gonna want?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you've heard, but it's been passed on to me that, and you probably anticipated this would happen, some local citizens, I don't know if they're here in Burlington, in the county, but there's talk of putting a petition together to present to the board to not demolish that building because they feel it's has some historical significance for the local area. Now,
Is it actually historical? I'm not.
I don't know, I will tell you, I don't know anything about it other than that's what was passed on.
It don't surprise me that there isn't, that hadn't came up.
I think the further along you get, the more you'll hear about it, is my opinion. Now, does that mean it needs to stop? You get to decide that.
Well, and I think I wonder how many people have seen the condition that it's in, because I know the few people that I've showed it to over there didn't realize how bad it was. So I don't know if, I mean, the people who might have concern about it being torn down, would that be something for them to maybe
I think having an open invitation for citizens to view it, now we need to check with the county's insurance carrier to make sure there's not.
Well, my theory, my opinion is we bought it for a purpose in mind, and let's do the purpose in mind. If some of these people wanted to preserve it, they should have been buying it.
How long had it been up for sale?
Well, long time.
Yeah, it's been up for sale a few different times for 20.
Year or two.
Close to it.
Was on the market with a certain realtor, and it went so long that it
15 or
came
20
off.
years, been empty.
You know, to me, we made a stand, and I think we need to stay with the stand, even though still might be some other people that might disagree, but with it being on the market for a number of years and how long, I don't have any idea, but to me, we took a stand. I think we need to continue through with it, but how we proceed.
The only thing I can think of, Tim, the person that Tim is talking about, that they want to do the whole thing, or I just wonder if they're planning on doing a salvage, if we would get a heck of a discount on the rest of it for the salvage. But what do we have to compare it to?
Well, the other thing you do is just do a demo, just go out for bids for demolition and removal, and then that individual or whoever, you're gonna see the difference. If you've got a local person here that's just looking at doing the demolition, they're gonna probably be cheaper because they're not gonna have the traveling costs, mobilization, so.
Removing those trees made a dramatic difference the way they look.
Yes, made it look a lot nicer.
It
still
looks
putting
like
lipstick on a pig, but yeah.
You know, with him, you were bringing up reclaiming the brick.
Mhm.
That's gonna offset.
Person might just go out for demo bids.
Do you want me to get back with the church and let them know that that's not something?
She called me about it last week and I didn't have a good answer. I said, bring it up on Monday. I mean, it makes no difference to me, but
Me neither,
you
but what-
you give somebody one thing and then somebody else wants another. We know the extension office is needing a lit sign.
If we put out the bid, and they wanna bid on something with the,
I don't know how much it take that sign down, but we're having an auction Saturday.
A sawzall in about 3 minutes.
Stick that in an auction, and if somebody wants it, they go bid on it.
that's a good idea.
It's still, it's our equipment, we can do what we want with it.
I'd say somebody could get a
Public
sawzall. A sawzall and go in there and cut her off. Put her in the auction.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure it isn't better off just go out there and get it, but we've got the right to refuse if we don't like what we'll receive. At least we're gonna be moving ahead. And if we wanna stop at that point and go a different direction, we got the right, and, you know, if we don't like what we see.
This is the one option, contacting everybody that Tim spoke with, and just tell them on May, whatever, we're taking bids, turnkey, done deal.
Yep,
I mean, that's our two options I see.
that's fine with me. We need to get something
Just
done.
need to move on one way or however we do it.
If we keep making too many suggestions, too many exceptions, we'll be sitting here a year from now, and the building's still there.
Somebody's gotta write up a RFP for,
I started on one.
you started on.
Andrea and I was working together on it a little bit.
Just that.
I can finish it up.
Okay.
I was working on it before we found this guy, and once we found this guy, it's like, maybe that's the way to go, but maybe it's not, maybe it's. it wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't hurt to throw the pictures to
You
it.
know, and you're liable to get a bid from somebody that's, you know, that will pay you this for the salvage
Right.
price, then we don't wanna demo it, and then you may get somebody that's, all they wanna do
Well,
is
then you
demo it.
can, then you can back up and go local for somebody for the demo.
Mhm.
You know. If you don't move forward, you can't back up any.
Sure. Speaking of moving forward, you mentioned it, and then I forgot to bring it up, the, committee, jail committee. So Goldberg will be here, and he's gotta lock in the time with Angie, but in a conversation with him last week, he plans on being here on the 25th. I believe also on the 25th, since he'll be here, and he'll be here with Sydney, and Sydney's been working on some, materials to go with the county jail project, to maybe have the first meeting for that committee. And
The same day.
the same day, because then he'll be able to talk about it. Sydney will be able to go over it. It's not the best timeline, because I would have liked to have seen it sooner, but that's what timeline they're operating with, and we'll just go from there.
Well, I know several people that I've talked to, they would like to have 2 weeks. 2 weeks planning ahead if they're gonna have a meeting of an evening or something.
Yep.
I mean, right now, we're sitting at the 2 weeks.
Yep, so we'll get that locked in and have an email go out to all the people on the committee. You know, I don't think it'll be a 100% turnout, but that's why you have that many people on the committee. All right, that's all I got, Meyer.
Thank you. Bob, you got it?
Nope.
Dawn? No. She covered mine, the sign. I think that's all I have. Do you have anything?
Flight scholarship, I didn't know, somebody had let me know that they had a high school kid turn one in. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
know what
They
happened.
turn those in to the,
Airport?
no, to the, counselor at the school, and then the counselor, they turn them into the counselors, and then the counselors bring them to the Canoic, actually, Canoic Development always done that.
Okay. Let them know. the
Yeah,
time.
they're on the calendar for the 25th at 8:30.
Oh, okay.
But usually, they let us know who they are.
Yeah, I don't know, I just
In
know
advance,
that
so.
Rhonda called to be put on, so they must have somebody, or
Oh, okay. The 25th of this month, they have the actual.
25th at 8:30, yeah.
Okay.
So you guys will be here earlier that day, so they do it in the lobby.
So they need to let us know who they are in advance, so. It's usually what happens is the commissioner from whatever district they're from presents it to the kids. And I don't know how many we have, we could have 6 this year, because we allowed the seniors that did not have one because of
COVID.
the opportunity.
Hey, might work. Just like our school there at SCC, which is Redland Leroy, our numbers are down significantly. We only got 11 seniors this year. We got 5 going into the military. 3 Marines and 2 Army already signed up.
Wow.
And our school are pretty proud of
Yeah.
having 5 out of 11 seniors going into the military.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, I guess if that ends our round table, we'll recess until,
So,
do you have anything?
let's have Andrew get with Rhonda, and if Rhonda's got those names, get them to us so we can figure out what we're doing.
Sounds good. Guess we'll recess till 1 o'clock. We'll have interviews.
The interview starts at 1, so we probably ought to
We'll
get
be
back.
here, yeah, we'll be here at 12.
Maybe 5 till or something.
12:55.
12:55. Well, there we
That'll
go.
work.
Ask him if he knows any other companies in his line of business who wants to extend the invitation.
Bob must have thought 1 o'clock.
He can be late.
Yeah, we're supposed to be down there at 1.
Yeah. So, yeah. We gonna do 30 minutes?
Hey, each one of them is an hour.
Well, I know, but
How long are we going into executive session for? 45 minutes?
I would say we probably hit 45 minutes.
should we do 30 and then if we need more time, come back? We've done that before.
We've done that a time or two. We've
Yeah.
done 45 a time or two.
Well, I just know a time or two, we've had to sit down there and
Do
Total
nothing,
time. Well, we can do 30 minutes.
and then come
We
back.
could do a 30-minute, and if we need to come back, we can come back.
For the importance of the job, 30 minutes probably too short, but
it's up to you guys. That was just a question, not a
30
question.
minutes is fine with me. I mean, they're separate, I mean, we can't do anything until 2, so.
Correct.
I mean,
Do 30 and for longer, then we go back in.
yep.
Yeah.
I concur.
need to let the candidate know right up front what the
Right.
plan is.
Well, candidate number 1 is waiting on us.
Do we have papers on them?
In the
They're
room.
down there.
They're done. Yeah.
And we kinda need Wade. We kinda need to wait for Wade, 'cause Wade said he was gonna be involved in it as well.
Yeah.
Wanna go check on him?
Might see where he's at.
He's gonna
The
set
truck is not in the parking lot last one then.
set in the background there.
How do you like that color of it?
It's not too bad. I just,
Now
I
it's
got,
getting smaller.
yeah, but I mean, it's roomy enough. But I couldn't take just beating up and down the road all day in that Duramax anymore, so I had the company buy me a truck instead of me driving my personal
Right
truck
downstairs.
to work to Kansas City and Topeka and Newport.
He said the pickup one here when we got here, Tom.
So no, it's,
I got a leg room.
Has anybody told the candidate what we're meeting at?
Yep.
I guess from, as far as the mid-size pickup, if you wanna call it mid-size pickup, that Ford Ranger, new Ford Ranger's like, everybody's so far really liking them.
I don't think the mid-size is, I think they're bigger than what the mid-size is used to be.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I know several people that bought a Ford Ranger and just like the heck out of it.
Can you get a diesel motor in those?
You can in Colorado.
He's walking in now.
Okay.
I mean, how much fuel mileage have they put it out?
This one's like, I get like 21. It's gas or super.
I rode the Toyota Tundra down there in West Texas, hunting. A lot of room. Well, I really liked it, really liked it.
Thank you. I guess we could go ahead and move the one down and do the other one.
Yep.
oh, the 2 pages each.
Gosh, we got some more questions.
We can't ask
You're
one.
gonna have to share.
Right.
Do we wanna rethink the timing?
Up to you.
This is not for what we're doing.
No.
Right.
You can
Economic development?
substitute.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Strike that and put
Yep,
emergency management.
I'll be in touch and we can talk,
Right.
We'll probably sit down and talk with the sheriff.
I guess, but would they all apply to?
Yeah, sure. That'll work.
We can make it work, yeah. Tim, you got one? Did you get it?
I'll share, I'll set by one of you that.
Well, you'll strike number 9.
Okay, sounds good.
I can go make a copy for you.
Appreciate it.
if you want.
Okay.
Sorry.
Didn't mean to throw it at you.
Sorry, did I?
He should be on the boat, right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll just,
I printed off the wrong.
We can,
can we
We
substitute?
need to have the right one.
we can,
What questions are definitely change a little?
Can't need this thing. That's not points long.
number 8, we would.
Number 9 would be struck.
Well, you could just change that to emergency.
Sorry, Angie.
Number eight is the one that really.
Certification. Are you certified as a emergency manager?
Sent you on
Someone to go in and make the
a
right.
wild goose
Okay.
chase.
Do you know where that should?
We need to shred, we probably need to shred
Sorry.
these.
Yeah, I
Who we
can
don't
shred
need.
them. Here,
Or at least put them
are you
up.
keeping this?
I mean, it's nothing.
He's bringing us the right one.
He's bringing us to the right.
We might need that someday.
What do you wanna keep them, or what do you?
That's
might be possible.
Alright.
I'm gonna put this back I'm gonna file this one so that if we go back again, we will have something to, a whole page, bunch of file back. When the counter gets full, and move Don's stuff over and start a second file.
They can, when it comes up again, they can print them quicker than I can look for them.
Already did that.
If it's got 20 questions on it.
Well, I got the timer set for 30. If it's got 20 questions, you're gonna be more than 30 minutes.
You can't do it, or you can do whatever you wanna do.
I can read fast.
He might, the people might answer one or two questions with one answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't wanna
Most
leave it sitting
responses,
down there.
most responses will be 2, 3, 4 minutes, so.
I'm gonna write a book. Write a country song, Waiting on Waiting. Waiting on Waiting.
You know, when we go into executive session, we can actually turn that off till we come back in,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't have to be brought back up, it's just a dead space.
Right.
I asked Brad about that, and he said, not a problem.
Oh, there's 2 minutes of dead space.
Like you need in your calendar, they're gonna be outdated someday.
If we got enough of them.
I prefer to just use my calendar. I got it.
I like to
That
draw
way I've
pictures on
always got it with me.
Maybe somebody else in the courthouse might want some of them. No sense in sitting around being outdated.
I'm getting there, I'm starting to resemble that mark.
Outdated.
I had one of those books that's more of a note scratch pad than anything.
Couldn't they close this off, put a tent right there? That's a pretty good size area, if that's big enough.
Not to mention it's all asphalt, we may not like that for the elephants and such.
Well, eyewear guys might not like it if they slip.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like the ground.
That looks like an awful big circle.
I think it's
300?
300 feet across.
Yeah.
Not sure enough got enough room up in that asphalt part.
So you get 500 people in there, and all their animals, it's gonna take some, that's just like that tent, I bet there's 50 to 75 stakes driven in the ground. And they pull them out, they got some ground repair.
I guess. Let them know we're waiting on Wade.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. I was just saying I was gonna write a song, country music song, Waiting on Wade.
It will be the next Amarillo by morning.
He'll give you royalties off of it.
So that's a little more specific.
Okay.
Yeah. 18 questions.
A motion to move an executive session for, we was questioning 30 minutes, 45 minutes?
My suggestion is always 30 minutes if you need more, unless you think you need more.
We can go back, we can go back a bit.
That's my,
The motion to
my
move
thought.
into executive session to, for 30 minutes, the board and, county counselor
And candidate number
and
one.
candidate number one.
I'll move. Second.
Bob's moved, Tom seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will enter at 1:08.
You got lucky there, that just switched.
It just switched. Bob stopped off. Bob stopped at the quick shop. No. It was fast. Was a quick shop. We're gonna have to resume another 10-minute executive session for candidate number one, ourselves, and County Councilor Wade Bowie is present down there. We will go in at,
Since we've just got 20 minutes left, can we do 15 minutes just to?
do 15 minutes?
10 is really pushing, I think, sometimes.
Okay, so we'll do a 15-minute executive session with candidate number one and Wade Bowie. We'll go in at 1:40.
Just turned.
It just turned.
1:43.
Also move.
I'll make the motion.
Motion, seconded. All in favor?
Sorry, Bob.
That's okay, that's not, just as long as it was done. The time changed and I want to get it going.
He got out in the hallway.
I'll be downstairs.
Okay. Jesse in here, we're back in regular session, so.
Yeah.
You got caught in the hallway.
As long as it's equipment, I don't think that would be an issue. As long as it's equipment, you guys just appropriate where you need to, you just got that money set aside for equipment. So. I don't like to go business. Oh, I know. Yep.
Wade went back down.
Wade went back down?
Yep.
Okay. Need a motion to go into executive session. I'm gonna call 45 minutes.
Okay.
For candidate number two for the emergency preparedness position.
I'll make the motion.
Tim's moved.
Second.
I wonder, since we did 30 and 15, if we need to keep that 30 and 15 again.
I'm gonna save the trip up here, personally.
And that's with the commission, candidate
That's the
two,
commission.
and county
Wait.
councilor.
Yep. Commission, county councilor, candidate number two, 45 minutes. We'll go in at 2:01.
All in favor, say.
45 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Because if we're done, we can always leave. And not take much discussion. Okay,
Yeah, okay, go back. Still got the biscuit timer.
set it for 15.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Can we save the instructions?
On the bottom. No, I'm teasing. It could be cantankerous.
Now it's finally coming around to my way of thinking, which is very scary. I can't get the seconds to go to 0.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, no, I don't, it's been, I don't know if anybody needs something like that, they're welcome to it.
Are the sticky notes good?
Yeah.
I might as well keep it, 'cause you never know when you might need one in here.
I keep saying that, but I've never used one.
I guess, need a motion to go into executive session, the board and county councilor for 15 minutes?
Does he know that?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Tom made the motion.
For a person evaluating the candidates.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, reasoning, discuss non-elected personnel. Is that right? No.
No.
Candidate for discussion of continuing.
Probably candidate. Specific wording for us going back in executive session.
In your
Entertain.
discussion
For
related
discussion.
to the interviews, you're not gonna have those discussions in an open session.
What he said, ourselves and the board,
I'll still move.
move,
still
Tim
second.
second, any further discussion? Hearing none, we will go in at 2:54 for 15 minutes.
All in favor, say aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I always forget it.
No, it's not hard.
Too many things on the brain.
When that time's right, 2:54. That's a treat.
But I would talk to you about it, so. Yeah, I know Tom's ready to go home, but Tom, if you give me 5 minutes, you can go home.
I'm fine, bud.
Bob was the one wanting to go home.
Okay, give me 5 minutes.
You got it.
Set the timer.
Yeah, set the timer, 5 minutes.
3:17.
That's, okay. So, and literally about 20 minutes ago, I was just given 3 invoices, for our Motorola, price tag that comes with things. We have a radio manager system that takes care of all of our radio management, obviously. The annual service agreement is a little over $8,300. We have an RF server that takes care of all of our radio frequencies. That's what RF stands for. It's $28,000. Then the big one is what covers all of our radio systems, everything else down there is $66,000. It's $102,587.43. That normally, I didn't know, because this is the first time this was actually, set up by the previous administration. We're just having to start paying for it on a yearly basis. So, some of this was brought down in 5 installments, year 2, 3, 4, and 5. The total $274,000 alone just on one of these. But it's normally, we called up to the treasurer's office, we talked to Carl Lee, who's been in charge of it. Now that he's moved on, he's kind of letting us take over some of it. It's normally been paid out of the county general fund, and I just want to, before I send the vouchers out, make sure that that's where it's paid from, to let you know this is coming. It's 3 radio contracts, and it's $102,000.
You said the word annual. How many of these are still annual?
These three will continue to come
These 3
on.
will continue to be annual.
These 3 will continue.
Will they continue to
This
increase
is year 2 of year 5 on this 66,000. 66 this year, 67 next year, 69, 71, totaling $274,000 alone just on this one. That's this big radio thing that when we walked in 2 weeks later, they're tearing all of our consoles out. That previous administration had done this. I mean, it was needed, I'm sure, but this was just above and beyond me. But now the bills are coming in, and so it's again. I called Carl. Hey, who pays for this?
Budget.
Pardon me?
You have that in your budget.
I do not. That's why I'm here. So I'm just telling you. I guess if we're all riding bicycles, and not paying for fuel and
Same gas.
Yeah.
Is there any other alternative or any other method?
You don't have a choice.
That you're working?
Motorola is the number one system that's, across the United States. They take care of our radios, the fire department, everybody has Motorola radios. We're stuck with Motorola, and again, I'm not saying we're stuck. We chose the best system. You have them. This was all from radio systems. You've all been involved in that, I think. Tim may not, and maybe you not, but I know you three have been here long enough.
2 years
Yeah.
ago.
So Motorola is the best, and they've given us good contract service. If we have a problem, Dawn takes care of it. She calls them, and they're here to work on stuff. Unfortunately, yes, they should be for that price, absolutely. But I just wanted you to know that, it's $102,583.43, and I'll send the bill up to go to Angie so it can be paid. But there's 3 invoices here, and if my Humboldt High School education, that's the total bill, if my adding is correct. So, just want to let you know.
And we got 3 more years left.
And you got 3 years left, and at that point,
It's more.
the way the system is gonna be is,
It's gonna be
we're gonna start
devastating.
looking, absolutely. So, we're always looking, to upgrade something if it needs to be upgraded, and try to do it. But again, you know as well as I do, as soon as you don't have a warranty or a service contract, it's gonna break down and cost you more to fix it. Well, remember just here a month or 2 ago, we talked about our recording system. Been outdated for 10 years. We've just been babying it along, trying to get it to work. Pretty soon it shuts off and it don't come back on.
We'll
So,
pull that out of equipment reserve.
they said it usually come out of county general, but wherever it's paid
Well,
from,
That would still be county, that can be county general too.
Still be.
so, unless you tell me no, I'll send it up the chain.
All I can say is if you ever call them and they can't get down here, you let me know and I'll be on the telephone.
Yeah, believe me, we will too. We'll be right on the phone with them.
We'll all be
Yeah.
dialing back
Because
down.
again, this is not like when I started 30 years ago with the old 39.58 that had 2 frequencies. This is almost like your car today. It's gotta be plugged into a computer to fix the computer. You and I don't have the capabilities anymore of working on our vehicles or this stuff.
I'm
So-
sure the clerk's office will know where we paid that from last year.
Again, that's what they told us. So I want, again, $102,000. I want to be transparent out there to YouTube land and to you. I don't want you to call me next Monday and say, hey, where's this 102? I want to be up front with you. So I just got it, and I hope if you were here, my 5 minutes was up probably.
Way to end the month.
That's right, way to end the month. So thank you for staying for another 5 minutes to talk to me.
That's what we're here for.
Okay, thank you. See y'all later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back to work. Thank you.
See ya.
See you, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, do we have any round table before we adjourn this day?
Yep, we want to.
Oh, we wanted to look at those surveys.
Do you want to do that now or later?
Well, we ought to do it. I don't.
I say let's do it.
Let's do it now.
Have they been, I think we need to do it. Have they been totaled up?
They're on Angie's desk.
They're to the left of.
Oh, no, you let it.
It's underneath your agenda.
To me, they should be already totaled up.
Should run out for a minute.
Should be something else to think about.
We just see if she made it back.
Thought she had it in a yellow envelope. No,
They were just loose.
just the stack.
Turn them upside down.
I think I might have, maybe I took them. Oh, well, you've got one.
It's this. What it is.
Did it go from our desk?
No, I got this.
Well, we only need one, don't we?
Well, there's one I haven't.
Depends on how-
Probably everybody ought to have
Depends on
one.
how they got it summarized. I think it'd be summarized.
Do I need
With all due
to
respect,
call
how
her?
does that work? He's having
Have it in a meeting.
Oh, okay.
I know I've got one. I'll be right back.
was it?
I think everybody probably ought to have one, Bob, they could, Brad could take out some copies of it.
That we need to
I think that's
review.
what Wade went to do.
I'm
with it.
sorry?
Wade, I think Wade went to
I
copy
think
it.
Angie had a bunch of them.
She did.
That whole stack.
She did.
And then she turned them upside down
I texted her and asked her.
You're welcome to make copies of it.
Did you find them?
This might not even be in that same copy. I think it is.
You already got
I think
one?
I
Wade
have.
just went to make copies of her.
And I don't
Heading
know.
off as fast. You got one? Sweet. There's some executive session.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So we'll wait for Wade to get back here.
This looks like maybe something to take home and review.
Hi, Bonnie. You got new developments?
Just wanted to update on the UDO.
Oh, okay.
They, should have all the, contamination out by, have a clear report by end of this week. That's what the engineer just told me. So you should be ready to receive open, consider bids next meeting. Or you can push it back.
They was putting dirt in the hole after lunch.
Yes, sir.
So, are they gonna dig any more there? Or they
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, in a different spot?
Yes, sir.
You talking about where the tanks were removed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they were packing that all in there last week.
Yes, sir.
We packed that all in there for a couple of days.
They're still packing it in.
Yeah, they,
We drove by
they had,
after lunch.
there was a semi-load there this morning.
Yes, sir. Unless y'all tell me otherwise, I'll instruct the bidders to submit, and y'all can make
You thought they had to be submitted by last Friday?
Well, I pushed it back because they kept digging out more and more, and it was changing, they were doing the work for us, essentially. It meant, I'm just guessing a few $1,000s worth of extra work, that now we don't have to pay for, essentially.
So are we gonna have bidders change their bids, or rebid it now, then, since we've...
Well, they're gonna have to, because
Since we've already done some of the work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they need to relook at the project and refigure their bids, because
Yes, sir.
there's gonna be less to do.
That's right, that's right, there's less work for the final bidder to do.
How much stuff, material do they have to take out back underneath that concrete slab, get rid of that exposed material?
As far as under the
They were
slab,
digging back under that slab 2 or 3 feet.
not too much, probably,
Okay.
I don't know volume wise, but at least
They
4 or
were-
5
They were back
buckets.
under tether.
Yes, sir.
That's Wednesday or Thursday.
We talked about a certain price, if it came in over a certain price, we're gonna have to do it. I think we're gonna have to do it, because I don't think it's gonna come in under that price.
May do.
So
You might
I'm
be
thinking
right.
we ought to just figure for the 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it is, and do it right, because the hole is, because one of our concerns was the hole was gonna be there, but these people are filling the hole back in.
Yes, sir.
So the hole is not going to be there, it's not gonna be the issue that we was pushing forward to in the beginning. So I think we just should go to 3, whatever, however we need to do that for 3 weeks or whatever, go from there. Because if they're gonna have to come back and rebid because of the work they've done.
Yes, sir.
I think that's what we should do.
Very well.
Good for me.
That's what I'll do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I need a motion to go into, go ahead.
I'd suggest a motion to go into executive session for attorney-client so we can sort of explore and figure out, related to this time sheet study, what, once this gets to the point where, well, deciding if something needs to be redacted that relates to an employee that provided a comment that does not need to be subject to dissemination. And although the majority of what I've seen so far, I don't think it would be an issue if there is information that I think could identify an employee, and that doesn't need to be subject to dissemination.
So the board, you,
Myself.
and I think was we talking about Angie earlier being involved in, I know there was something we was talking about, but I can't remember what it was.
And it probably wouldn't hurt since.
She's been working with.
But she's part of our HR. She's directly tied to the payroll. I mean, her office runs and operates payroll for the county, and that's what this is specific to.
So the board, county counselor, and county clerk. How long? 30 minutes?
I'd say 20.
20 minutes? You would. No, no, Bob moved.
Second.
Don second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll go in at 3:28 for, what did you say, 20 minutes? Okay.
Nice to go back to the last 2 days. Gotta go work last up.
I texted one to see if he was gonna come back up and sign these, but I haven't.
Okay, there's the minutes from the signature page for the minutes.
No action, right?
No action.
No action.
No action. If everybody's in favor, I say we adjourn for today.
Is Wade gonna let us?
Say what?
I was asking permission to
I'm sorry.
I blocked off my entire day to spend with you guys.
Why don't you just
It's not over yet.
call it the lease? Wade, thank you.
Nobody has anything else, we'll adjourn at 3:51.
And you're gonna get these signed and bring them back to you.
Been a long